Chapter 403, 3-Sect Competition, 1. Yi Qingtang finally sighed. Before Yi Qingtang could sigh fully, the elderly suddenly spoke. We can add spirit crystal powder into the Qingxian steel as well, right? Then Yi Qingtang understood why the old imp was so insistent on the black gold meteorite iron. It must be that he saw the process of her forging the dagger and remembered her spirit crystals. Yes, Yi Qingtang replied helplessly. Qingxian steel it is then. The elderly ordered heartily. Yi Qingtang face-palmed quietly. Was it still too late for her to back out now? The truth had proved that it was too late for Yi Qingtang to back out even if she wanted to. For the entire afternoon, she was dragged around the sword spirit workshop by the elderly and did not do anything else other than forging the daybreak crossbow with him. Only after night fell could Yi Qingtang then desperately reject the elderly's request to continue forging, and she flew out the sword spirit workshop. The elderly could not help but sigh as he watched Yi Qingtang running away. The in-charge found the elderly's behavior funny yet did not dare to reveal it. Although Elder Mo accepted Yi Qingtang as his disciple, since she was an in-name disciple and not considered an official disciple, she did not need to offer incense and serve tea. This matter had not circulated in the inner sect. Yi Qingtang did not place this matter to heart. On usual days, she cultivated and did her missions as needed. She spent the Xianming points on the Spirit Consonance River and occasionally used the Quenching Flame Pill and Ice Skin Powder to speed up her cultivation. Gradually, her skills improved. However, while the cultivation method using Quenching Flame Pill and Ice Skin Powder was good, it could not be used for a long period of time. This method would be the most efficient only on the first time, and the effects would naturally decrease once the skills increased. Although the improvement would not be as shocking as before, the speed of cultivation was still faster than normal. However, the more one's skills improved, the more Yi Qingtang found the speed of cultivation to slow down. From the first stage of the second heaven to the second stage, Yi Qingtang spent 1 entire month to advance. Although this speed was a few times faster than normal disciples, it was still very slow to Yi Qingtang. Yi Qingtang noticed that if her spirit root did not continue to upgrade, her cultivation speed would probably become even slower. However, no matter what method she used in the few months, there was no trace of her spirit root upgrading. I must obtain the Black Heaven water. After meditation, Yi Qingtang calmed her heart, and the need for the Black Heaven water was increasingly clear. There were still 3 months to the start of the inner sect mystic realm. Although Yi Qingtang did have some fame in the inner sect after the life and death ring, there was still a distance away from being an elite disciple. To increase her position in the inner sect in 3 months, she had to find a suitable method. At that thought, Yi Qingtang recalled something immediately. In another half a month, it would be time for the 3-sect competition. This competition was among Xianling sect and 2 other sects, which had been going on for many years. During the competition, the sects would send their own inner sect disciples, and elite disciples would not battle according to the rules. To Yi Qingtang, perhaps this was an opportunity. Xianling sect had been suppressed for many years in the 3-sect competition. If she could participate in the 3-sect competition and achieve pretty good results, maybe she had a chance of becoming an elite disciple and thus obtain the chance to enter the mystic realm. Chapter 404, 3-Sect Competition, 2. Yi Qingtang stood up immediately at that thought. The people participating in the 3-sect competition were recommended by inner sect elders. If she wanted to go, she had to look for Elder Mo. In this 1 month, Elder Mo did summon Yi Qingtang twice, but it was for her to repair some weapons for him, though he did provide her some martial arts guidance as well. However, Yi Qingtang was already aware of whatever advice Elder Mo gave, and listening to it was not much help. At that time, Elder Mo was discussing the upcoming 3-sect competition with Elder Lin and other inner sect elders. In the past 10 years, we were always at a disadvantageous position in the competition with Qinglin sect and Wen Moon sect. This has affected the sect's glory. We must not be stuck in the same circumstance this year, an elder said in a serious tone. All the elders' faces were rather ugly after hearing that. Although the 3-sect competition was for the disciples to learn from each other on the surface, it was actually very violent in reality. Whether it was victory or defeat, it was extremely important to a sect's glory. Xianling's sect had been in the last place for 10 consecutive years, much to the dissatisfaction to the sect master and grand elder. If there was no improvement in their results this year, it would affect their reputation. The rules of the 3-sect competition is not advantageous to our sect. If our top disciples went for the battle, our Xianling sect would naturally have the confidence to achieve victory, another elder said with a frown. The rules were already laid down hundreds of years ago. Only outstanding inner sect disciples were allowed to battle, and all elite disciples were not allowed to participate. Even though we know it's not advantageous to our sect, these rules cannot be broken, Elder Mo said seriously. Xianling sect's elite disciples were not inferior to Qinglin sects and Wind Moon sects, and they could even defeat them by a margin. However, the rules of the 3-sect competition placed them in a perplexing situation. Elder Lin, do you have any suitable people in mind this year? An elder looked at Elder Lin. Elder Lin had accepted many talented disciples as his official disciple, and Ning Luo, a disciple under him, placed in the top 3 of Xianling's sect. Ning Luo was still young and had brilliant endowments. His future was limitless. However, it was a pity that Ning Luo had already become an elite disciple and was unable to participate in the 3-sect competition. Zhu Chang's condition is pretty good this year. I intend to promote him to an elite disciple this year. Before that, he will represent us in the 3-sect competition. There shouldn't be a problem, Elder Lin said. He was quite satisfied with his disciple, Zhu Chang'e. Zhu Chang'e? He isn't bad indeed. However, just to be sure, may the elders put more thought into choosing a suitable candidate to participate in the 3-sect competition this time? We must recover the sect's reputation. Of course. Alright. Apart from the official disciples who will be battling, the sect master wants us to select some disciples who are worth training as reserves to head to the competition as well. Although they will not take part, they could also broaden their horizons. After a long discussion, the elders finally dispersed. Elder Mo returned to the elders' hall after the discussion. The moment he stepped in, he suddenly saw a tiny figure in the hall. Yi Qingtang? Greetings, master. Yi Qingtang had waited in the elders' hall for a long time and immediately bowed to Elder Mo when she saw him. Is there any matter? Elder Mo's mind was still on the 3-sect competition. As the internal affairs elder and the elder with the highest skills in the inner sect, he had to set an example. However, it was just that he was focused on cultivation and did not accept many disciples under him. More than that, most of his disciples were inner sect elites who could not participate in the 3-sect competition. Chapter 405, 3-sect competition, 3. I have a request to make. Yi Qingtang went directly to the point. Oh, what is it? Elder Mo fixed his eyes on Yi Qingtang. In this 1 month, although Yi Qingtang was an in-name disciple under him, she was low-key and never publicized it. She never harassed him on usual days and repaired his weapons very swiftly. With that, Elder Mo was rather satisfied with the disciple he just accepted, and thus his attitude towards Yi Qingtang was considered gentle. I wish to participate in the 3-sect competition. Yi Qingtang replied directly. Elder Mo's expression changed slightly as a look of surprise flashed across his eyes. You wish to participate in the 3-sect competition? Yes. Please give me a chance, master, Yi Qingtang said firmly. She had to become an elite disciple and enter the mystic realm. The black heaven water in the mystic realm was what she needed the most. In her previous life, the black heaven water was obtained by Ning Luo in the mystic realm this year. Yi Qingtang was very aware that once she missed the chance this year, she would no longer have any fate with the black heaven water. Elder Mo looked at Yi Qingtang without saying anything. The 3-sect competition was of great significance to the sect. Yi Qingtang had only entered the inner sect for over 2 months, and the priority was to increase her skills. Just based on her credentials, she simply had no qualification to participate in the 3-sect competition. Yi Qingtang, you've only entered the inner sect for a short time. The 3-sect competition is significant to the sect. There's no need for you to be so anxious to participate in it this year. It was not that Elder Mo was making things difficult for Yi Qingtang intentionally, but he truly felt she was not suitable. Yi Qingtang's spirit root was only a red spirit root, which was too low. There was not much difference at the current stage, but the more her skills increased, the harder it would be for her to improve, making it difficult for her to attain a higher state of cultivation. Moreover, although her skills were considered pretty good amongst the new disciples, it was not outstanding. To Elder Mo, he admired Yi Qingtang's talent in forging more. Yi Qingtang, however, insisted. I only wish to participate in the 3-sect competition. Please permit it, Master? Elder Mo could not help but have a headache. If other disciples had such a request, he would reject them straight up without saying anything else. However, he was pretty satisfied with Yi Qingtang's performance in this 1 month, and since she was so persistent, it was not nice of him to reject so forcefully. You really wish to go to the 3-sect competition? Elder Mo asked again after a moment of silence. Yes. Yi Qingtang's gaze was firm. Elder Mo sighed lightly. Since you're so bent on it, I can allow you to. However, even if I permit you to go, you can only be a reserved disciple at most. Are you still willing? Previously, the sect master wanted them to select some disciples worth training to participate in the 3-sect competition as a reserve. This type of disciples usually would not need to battle and were merely there to widen their horizons. If Yi Qingtang really wanted to go, it was not impossible to give her the reserve position. Yi Qingtang's eyes twinkled, and she replied immediately. I am willing. Thank you for agreeing to my request, Master. Whether it was a reserve or whatnot, there was a chance as long as she could head to the 3-sect competition. Yi Qingtang would not let the slightest opportunity away. It is settled then. I will submit your name over. At that time, you can just go with the other selected disciples, Elder Mo said. Noted. I'll do as you say. Elder Mo sighed and then took out an esoteric book from his space ring and handed it to Yi Qingtang. Chapter 406, Xinyuan Pill, 1. Yi Qingtang's eyes brightened, but after seeing the words in the book, the light in her eyes extinguished instantly. What was written on the book was Moonlight Steps Swordplay Technique. This Moonlight Steps Swordplay Technique is a high-level technique of Xianling sect. If you can master it, it will be extremely powerful. However, this swordplay technique is extremely hard to train. If you cultivate for another 3 to 5 years diligently, you'll be able to understand some basics. Take this with you today. Elder Mo did his part as a master. Only a sparse number of disciples in the inner sect mastered this Moonlight Steps swordplay technique. From this, one could imagine its difficulty level. When Yi Qingtang saw the Moonlight Steps swordplay technique book, there was a subtle change in her expression. Moonlight Steps swordplay technique? Wasn't this the swordplay technique she practiced so thoroughly in her previous life? The corners of Yi Qingtang's lips twitched, but looking at Elder Mo's behavior, it was inconvenient for her to express anything, and she could only accept it with feigned gratitude. Thank you, Master. Elder Mo nodded slightly and asked again. Do you have any other matters? No more. You can leave then. Elder Mo waved a hand. He was more or less helpless to Yi Qingtang's sudden request. It was a good thing that reserved disciples did not need to battle. Otherwise, he would probably not agree to her request either. With Elder Mo's words, joy filled Yi Qingtang, and she was ready to take her leave. Nonetheless, Elder Mo suddenly recalled something and called out to Yi Qingtang. Yi Qingtang, make a trip to the Sword Spirit Workshop today. The smile on her face froze for a moment. Sword Spirit Workshop. Over this period of time, she was almost allergic to those 3 words. After being dragged by the elderly to study the daybreak crossbow, the in-charge would directly pull her into the workshop and tie her to the elderly's side whenever she passed by, where she would be forced to continue forging the daybreak crossbow. Yi Qingtang almost died from such suffering. Helpless, she took a roundabout route now. However, never in a million times would Yi Qingtang expect Elder Mo to actually ask her to walk right into the trap. Yi Qingtang was overwhelmed with anguish as she glimpsed at Elder Mo with a strange expression which read, How much money do you owe that elderly exactly? Elder Mo was a little awkward from Yi Qingtang's gaze. He did not intend to concern himself with this matter, but His Excellency kept nagging about it and blamed him for not bothering his disciple. He was very helpless as well. Since Yi Qingtang happened to be here today, he treated it as merely giving her a task. No matter how unwilling Yi Qingtang was, she had no choice but to go to the sword spirit workshop since Elder Mo personally asked her. After all, she just made a request to Elder Mo, and he had already agreed to it. If she did not give him face this time, it would really be courting death. "I'll head over right now." Yi Qingtang sighed and left after bowing. Elder Mo watched Yi Qingtang's back view after making a prompt decision and was at a loss of whether to laugh or cry. With unwilling footsteps, she arrived at the sword spirit workshop. The moment she reached the entrance, she saw that elderly strolling around the furnaces. When he noticed Yi Qingtang, his eyes brightened instantly. "Wow, little girl. Why are you willing to come here today?" The elderly beamed at Yi Qingtang. His smile was like that of a person whose crafty plot succeeded, and Yi Qingtang seriously had the urge to box him. Why was she here? Wouldn't he be clear? Yi Qingtang truly suspected that Elder Mo owed this elderly a lot of money. Otherwise, why would such a highly respected person betray his disciple? Chapter 407, Xianyuan Pill, 2. It is good that you're here. Take a look for me. This daybreak crossbow is already pretty much done with only some details left. Let's make use of these few days to finish forging it. The elderly completely ignored Yi Qingtang's resentful expression and cheerily pulled Yi Qingtang to look at the results of his effort. When Yi Qingtang heard, "make use of these few days," she felt her mind explode. "Senior, I don't think I'll have time in the next few days." "Don't have time? You're deceiving me again." The elderly groaned unhappily. Yi Qingtang replied, "I'm not deceiving you. I am participating in the 3-sect competition half a month later and will need to cultivate hard in the coming days. Otherwise, wouldn't I tarnish the sect's reputation in the 3-sect competition?" Yi Qingtang was really afraid of this energetic elderly and could only use the sect's glory as an excuse. After he heard about the 3-sect competition, a surprised look flashed across the elderly's face. He scanned Yi Qingtang with eyes full of suspicion. "Didn't you enter the inner sect for a few months only? Even if it's the 3-sect competition, it has nothing to do with you. Don't lie to me." "I really am not. I'm going there as a reserve." "Reserve?" The elderly was in thought as he swept a look at Yi Qingtang. "You only entered the inner sect for not long, yet you're heading to the 3-sect competition, where outstanding disciples from the 3 sects would be present. Although they are not considered elites, they are all skillful. Why are you joining for nothing?" "Since I am a disciple of the sect, of course, I am willing to strive for the sect's glory." Yi Qingtang lied blatantly without guilt. The elderly raised a brow at Yi Qingtang. "Oh, you're pretty ambitious?" "Of course." "Hold it, I know that you're ambitious already. How about this? As long as you come here for 4 hours after your cultivation from now on, I'll give you a Xianyuan pill. What do you think?" The elderly stroked his chin as he laid the conditions. "Xianyuan pill?" Yi Qingtang was startled. The Xianyuan pill was a master-grade pill which was extremely beneficial in cleansing one's spirit energy and increasing one's skills. However, this pill was difficult to refine, and its ingredients were even more difficult to obtain. Even if Yi Qingtang knew how to refine it, she could not gather the ingredients. Never had she expected that this seemingly scheming old imp would actually have a Xianyuan pill. "You can't be lying to me, right? You have the Xianyuan pill?" Yi Qingtang looked at the elderly suspiciously. The elderly immediately narrowed his eyes. "Little girl, how dare you doubt me?" Then, the elderly waved for the in-charge to come over and pointed to Yi Qingtang. "Tell her whether I have the Xianyuan pill." The in-charge was busy forging and was confused after being called over suddenly, completely at a loss why the Xianyuan pill was brought into question. "Girl, he has the Xianyuan pill indeed." The elderly placed his hands on his hips and snorted. He gave Yi Qingtang a proud look. Yi Qingtang was silent. "How about it? Do you agree? 4 hours a day in exchange for 1 Xianyuan pill." "Little girl, not everyone can earn such a huge bargain," the elderly said. The in-charge finally understood what was going on. After hearing that the elderly actually wanted to give Yi Qingtang a Xianyuan pill, his eyes almost popped out. "You're too generous. Such an exorbitant Xianyuan pill to be given out just like that?" The in-charge could only feel his heart bleed. Chapter 408, Xianyuan Pill, 3. Yi Qingtang found it pretty strange as well. A casual Xianyuan pill that this elderly took out was already a master-grade pill. However, since she could gain a bargain, obviously, she would be easier to talk to. "Alright, I'll promise you. However, you must give me the Xianyuan pill first." "You're still pretty smart," the elderly looked at Yi Qingtang and said. "I will give it to you. I won't lie to you. I'll send someone to bring the Xianyuan pill over. Come look at the daybreak crossbow with me first." The elderly returned back to the topic of forging after just a few sentences. "Sure, senior." Yi Qingtang immediately became obedient. "Stop calling me senior already. It's annoying to hear. My surname is Wu. You can just call me Venerable Wu from now on," the elderly said. "Yes, Venerable Wu." Yi Qingtang replied very obediently. Venerable Wu nodded in satisfaction then and dragged Yi Qingtang into the forging room without wasting any time. After witnessing everything, the in-charge became extremely amused as he watched Venerable Wu drag Yi Qingtang away. "In-charge, is it really suitable for His Excellency to do this?" The blacksmith aside swallowed his saliva. Xianyuan pill was a treasure, but it was to be exchanged for 4 hours of this girl's time every day? The in-charge returned to his senses and was a little helpless. "Don't worry. If you want it, then increase your own forging skills. If you had that girl's abilities, perhaps even you would have a share of the Xianyuan pill." The blacksmith scurried back to his position immediately after being stifled by the in-charge's words. After watching Yi Qingtang repair the Tower Sky Sword, he clearly recognized the difference in forging skills between him and Yi Qingtang no matter how unwilling he was. How was there any comparability? According to the agreement, Venerable Wu sent someone to deliver the Xianyuan pill before Yi Qingtang left. Yi Qingtang was in an uplifted mood after obtaining the Xianyuan pill. This pill was a treasure that others would not be able to buy with money. With this, she was more confident in the 3-sect competition half a month later. She was at stage 2 of the second heaven right now. Relying on the Xianyuan pill, she should be able to break through to stage 3 of the second heaven in the coming half a month. Everything was very successful, but only the silver wolf was missing. Yi Qingtang ordered Ni Shang and Fei Ying to search for a long time, but their search was to no avail. No matter how regretful she was, she could only suppress it temporarily and hope that the silver wolf would return someday. Yi Qingtang cultivated diligently every day, and her diligence influenced Ni Shang and Fei Ying. This 2 little fellows cultivated with all their might, afraid that the previous incident would repeat once again. Days passed. In the blink of an eye, it was the 3-sect competition. On the day to leave, Yi Qingtang arrived as scheduled and unexpectedly saw the Blood Moon Sect Elder in the team. The Blood Moon Sect Elder stood in the team with an impatient expression. When he saw Yi Qingtang walking to his side, a chill ran down his spine. "Why are you here?" Yi Qingtang looked at the Blood Moon Sect Elder curiously. She was occupied with cultivation in the past few days and had no time to control him. Unexpectedly, he was actually on the team as well. The Blood Moon Sect Elder fixed his emotions. "Why am I here? Isn't it all because that Elder Qin wants me to participate in the 3-sect competition?" The Blood Moon Sect Elder was accepted into the inner sect as an exception because of his competence on arrays. Elder Qin valued him and provided him much guidance on usual days. The Blood Moon Sect Elder could not be bothered to bullshit with Elder Qin and thus answered him eloquently, wanting to end it as early as possible. Yet, unexpectedly, his performance won Elder Qin's favor even more and directly submitted his name for the 3-sect competition. Chapter 409, Drifting Cloud Island, 1. The Blood Moon Sect Elder was extremely aggrieved. What had the stupid competition between the sects got to do with him? Why had the revolving soul orb that Yi Qingtang gave to Elder Qin not exploded? Hurry up and explode and kill that annoying Elder Qin. Yi Qingtang looked at the Blood Moon sect elder's unwilling expression and thought it was funny. Thinking about it, it was true though. He was a mighty Blood Moon sect elder yet was trapped in the sect right now and still had to participate in a competition between sect disciples. If this was circulated, everyone's jaws would probably drop. Yi Qingtang joined the team as a reserve this time, so she did not need to be overly nervous. Rather, the Blood Moon sect elder was sent by the Array faction to officially participate in the competition and was summoned by the warden leading the team to listen to instructions. This competition was very important to Xianling sect. It had been dormant for 10 years, and whether they could rise was dependent on the 3-sect competition. This trip was led by Elder Mo and Elder Lin, as well as the other 3 elders of the Fist faction, Array faction, and Herbal faction. Together, all of them headed to Drifting Cloud Island where the 3-sect competition was held. The Drifting Cloud Island was situated above the ocean and enveloped in the clouds. People who were not from the 3 sects would be unable to find this place. 1,000 years ago, Drifting Cloud Island had rich spirit energy and could be said to be the sacred land for cultivation. The owner of the island once opened the island to the public for many powerful figures to cultivate there. Throughout the 1,000 years, the spirit energy on Drifting Cloud Island remained to be contended by sect disciples. All the sects wished to send their disciples to cultivate on the island, and there was no lack of traces of struggle amongst the sections. To prevent the island from being ruined in the battles, the owner of the island made an agreement with the 3 most powerful sects in the battle that year to turn the endless fights into a competition, where the sect in the first place could send 10 disciples to the island. The second-place winner had a quota of 5 people while the sect in the last place would have no fate with the spirit energy on the island. The 3 sects had no objection to this rule when it was laid. Throughout hundreds of years, the sects had each been the champion and sent many disciples to the island, where the skills of those disciples who cultivated on the island improved by leaps and bounds. However, there was a change in this situation of balance in the last 100 years. The people from Xianling sect rowed a cloud boat and passed by the horizon, heading towards the legendary Drifting Cloud Island. Initially, Xianling sect's skills were not considered weak amongst the 3 sections. Since the rules of the 3-sect competition was fixed, Xianling sect had sent nearly 100 disciples to the Drifting Cloud Island as well. However, in the last 100 years, it seemed that our sect never sent any disciple anymore. A disciple mumbled as he watched the lingering clouds around him. It can't be? Why did it become this way? It was the first time that this disciple participated in the 3-sect competition and curiosity arose within him. Wind Moon sect has always been powerful while Qinglin sect used to be weak. However, Qinglin sect earned the support of the Yunshao sect 100 years ago, and their abilities improved greatly in this 100 years. They were originally placed at the bottom but had chased up now. Yunshao sect. The Xianling sect disciples had a shocked expression after hearing the 2 words. Although Xianling sect and Yunshao sect were both sects, there was a world of differences between them. Even if one was an elite disciple in the inner sect of Xianling sect, he or she was at most an outer sect disciple in Xianling sect, and entering the inner sect was completely impossible. Chapter 410, Drifting Cloud Island, 2. Yunshao sect? That is one of the super sects. I didn't think that Qinglin sect would have the luck to earn the favor of a super sect. Envy filled the disciples. There were numerous treasures in a sect, and the Yunshao sect was all the more so one of the super sects, which were above normal sections. Many of the mighty figures on earth were from Yunshao sect. As everyone was engaged in the discussion, Yi Qingtang's expression sharpened slightly. To others, Yunshao sect shone with boundless radiance, but to her, it was a bottomless chasm. Currently, Yi was the official disciple of the Yunshao sect's sect master. Yi Qingtang was clearly aware of the gap between Xianling sect and Yunshao sect. She had been cultivating desperately merely to close the gap between Yi Yu and her, and entering Xianling sect was to obtain the Black Heaven water. However, to truly possess the strength to fight Yi Yu, it was impossible to simply rely on the Xianling sect only. Yi Qingtang already had a plan in mind, and now, she only needed to gradually walk down this path of revenge. You seem to be a little interested in that Yunshao sect? The Blood Moon Sect elder beside Yi Qingtang sharply sensed the change in Yi Qingtang's expression. Why did this girl's eyes become this sharp after hearing the words, Yunshao Sect? Yi Qingtang looked at the Blood Moon Sect elder and said, "You are the one who is interested, aren't you? Wasn't Blood Moon Sect annihilated by the combined effort of many super sects that year? If I remember correctly, wasn't Yunshao Sect also one of the forces who wiped out your Blood Moon Sect?" The Blood Moon Sect elder originally wanted to fish some answers out from Yi Qingtang, yet his face froze because of Yi Qingtang's words. The elder who led the troops in the battle against Yunshao Sect back then was not me. Furthermore, if the super sects had not shamelessly attacked with combined forces, which of them is the Blood Moon Sect's opponent if they fought alone? A group of despicable and lowly people. So much for calling themselves righteous sections. The Blood Moon Sect elder clearly disliked the super sects who were at the tip of the pyramid as he spoke of them disdainfully. Yi Qingtang supported her chin with an arm without continuing the Blood Moon Sect elder's words. The Blood Moon Sect was annihilated back then because of the combined forces of the first-class super sects, which included Yunshao Sect, where mighty figures in the world were recruited to encircle and suppress the Blood Moon Sect. Regarding his past enemy, it would be weird if the Blood Moon Sect elder had a good attitude. Passing by layers of clouds, an emerald island gradually appeared before everyone's eyes. The chattering disciples noticed the drifting cloud island not far away, and their eyes twinkled. Rumor has it that the drifting cloud island is covered with holy light, and I initially thought it was fake. I never thought that there really would be holy light. Drifting Cloud Island was surrounded with holy light and surging with spirit energy, attracting all the disciples' attention. The elders said it already. If we can achieve good results for Xianling Sect this year, we will have a chance to cultivate on the island. If I could cultivate on the island for about a year, how good would it be? As everyone wished enviously, the cloud boat had already reached the island and slowly descended at the designated location. It was only when they reached the island did they realize that the supposed drifting cloud island was not sitting on water. The island was actually 100 meters away from the surface of the ocean. Looking down from the island, one could see the waves of the sea slowly passing by from 100 meters below. All the disciples' eyes shone as the sight before them was a novelty. Just standing on the drifting cloud island, they already sensed rich spirit energy embracing them as though their entire body was nourished in the immense spirit energy. Chapter 411, Drifting Cloud Island 3, Yi Qingtang took a deep breath. She only heard rumors about the Drifting Cloud Island in her previous life and had no fate to come to the island. Unexpectedly, the spirit energy on the island was actually about the same as in the Spirit Consonance River. Standing here for a while was akin to being soaked in the Spirit Consonance River. No wonder inner sect disciples eagerly fought for a place as a reserve even though they could not participate in the match in her previous life. Over the course of the 3-sect competition, they could remain on the Drifting Cloud Island for a few days, where they earned a few days of spirit energy nourishment without needing to do anything. The owner of the Drifting Cloud Island had already sent people to receive the disciples from the 3 sections. After approaching the islander, Elder Mo and the rest headed to the main venue of the 3-sect competition under that islander's lead. This Drifting Cloud Island is pretty interesting. The Blood Moon Sect elders scanned the island. It was rare that he was satisfied with the place. Yi Qingtang did not reply to him and merely looked past the forest on the island. When she looked at a cliff on the island, a figure suddenly flashed past from the cliff. Yi Qingtang saw a slight trace of the person but was a little taken aback by what she saw. Mu Su. Confusion unveiled in her eyes. Why did she feel that the person on the cliff just now looked similar to the Mu Su, the city lord of Fallen Star City? However, that figure disappeared too quickly, and even if Yi Qingtang wished to confirm it another time, there no longer was a chance to. Yi Qingtang swept the confusion in her heart away. Fallen Star City was extremely far away from Drifting Cloud Island, and she had never heard that Mu Su had any relations to Drifting Cloud Island. Furthermore, Yi Qingtang was not bothered whether or not Mu Su was on the Drifting Cloud Island. Who she was truly concerned of was the person behind Mu Su, Han Songming. Thinking of that palace lord of Antiquity Palace, Yi Qingtang felt goosebumps all over as her eyes uncontrollably landed on the ring that was forced on her finger. Up until now, Yi Qingtang's heart still quivered whenever she recalled the shocking words that a certain someone said that night in the Spirit Condensation Mountain Village. She tried to pull the ring on her finger off many times, but it was as though the ring was glued on her finger and did not budge at all. She could not possibly chop her hand off. Perhaps I saw wrongly. Yi Qingtang comforted herself. The Palace Lord of Antiquity Palace should not be so free to stroll on the Drifting Cloud Island. On the other side, Mu Su was standing on the cliff of Drifting Cloud Island watching the people in Xianling sect uniforms enter the island slowly. Once he caught sight of that familiar figure, astonishment flashed past his eyes, and he immediately darted off, disappearing from the cliff without a trace. Your Highness! Mu Su swiftly reached a cavern hidden in the dense forest at the bottom of the mountain. There was a grotto heaven in that cavern which was just like a small-sized palace. A wide jade stage was in the center of that palace. On the jade stage, a pallid Han Songming was sitting cross-legged. Han Songming looked up slightly. His good-looking face was, however, a few shades paler at that instant. Glaring streaks of blood flowed down from his forehead to his collar. Your Highness, I saw the Xianling sect team entering the Drifting Cloud Island just now, and Lady Yi is also in the team. Mu Su kneeled on a knee and reported everything he saw to Han Songming. There was not a slight trace of emotion on Han Kangming's face. His pale lips closed as a faint look of surprise flashed across his eyes quietly. Chapter 412, Drifting Cloud Island 4. Subsequently, Han Songming did not say anything as he shut his eyes and calmed his mind. There was worry in Mu Su's eyes when he saw Han Kangming's reaction, but he could only retreat to a side silently without disturbing Han Songming in his meditation. His Highness' condition seems to be even worse. Anxiety filled Mu Su. After losing the suppression of the heart of the demon god, the surging aura of the evil in the world invaded Han Kangming's body continuously. Even though he possessed such godly powers, without the suppression of the heart of the demon god, the overbearing powers were not what any human body could contain. His Highness stayed beside Lady Yi as a silver wolf previously and could more or less use the heart of the demon god to suppress the aura of the evil in his body. However, Lady Yi often went out on missions, and although His Highness could follow nearby from a distance away, it was still unable to suppress the overactive aura of the evil. If this went on, he was afraid that His Highness' body would no longer be able to accommodate this powerful force. If His Highness even used a little energy to turn into a silver wolf now, his body would probably shatter. It was impossible to even go to Lady Yi already. Now, his condition could only be stabilized by making use of the spirit energy on Drifting Cloud Island, though it was still unknown how long this method could sustain for. I still have to think of a way to let His Highness stay beside Lady Yi more often. Mu Su was rather frustrated. Staying beside Yi Qingtang as a silver wolf was simply not a long-term plan. However, he always felt that Lady Yi seemed to be very afraid of His Highness. At the Spirit Condensation Mountain Village the other time, His Highness already requested Lady Yi to marry him, but her reaction was really... Mu Su sighed secretly. He was extremely worried about His Highness' condition. When they were unaware of the location of the heart of the demon god, His Highness spent most of the time on Drifting Cloud Island to suppress the aura of the evil and would only be out once in a while. Yet, now that the heart of the demon god was found, they could not retrieve it immediately. Just thinking about it, Mu Su felt that it was as though he had a mouthful of blood that would never disappear completely. I don't know if His Highness' condition would improve with Lady Yi on Drifting Cloud Island as well. If it does improve, maybe he can even use this chance to develop his relationship with Lady Yi. At that thought, Mu Su looked at Han Songming, who was seated on the jade stage. When he saw the blaring streaks of blood on Han Kangming's neck, he was even more anxious. Mu Su was filled with worry on this side, and on the other, the Xianling sect people were already led to the main venue of the three-sect competition. Disciples from the other two sects were already gathered at the wide court. Elder Du, I heard that you accepted an official disciple with extremely high talent. Do you intend on sending him out this year? An elder from Qinglin sect asked a Wind Moon sect elder with a smile. The Wind Moon sect elder replied, "Qingyu is still young. I brought him this year only to accumulate experience. I don't intend to send him out." "That's a pity then. I was pretty shocked when I heard that Shun Qingyu entered your Wind Moon sect. That child has been very gifted since young. I still intended to accept him as a disciple previously, but Elder do beat me to it. Coming to think of it, he will ultimately display his skills in the 3-sect competition. I will be really expectant at that time," the Qinglin sect elder said cheerfully. "You're too polite, Elder Qian. You already have such an excellent and unrivaled disciple, Fu Lingtian. There's no need to be bothered by anything else," said the Wind Moon sect elder. Chapter 413, Oddity 1. Lingtian should become an elite disciple at the end of this year. This is the last time that he will be participating in the 3-sect competition. I initially wanted to watch him and Shun Qingyu spar, but I guess there's no chance to this year, the Qinglin sect elder said with a smile. Although he was exchanging polite words with the Wind Moon sect elder, there was smugness in his tone. His disciple, Fu Lingtian, topped the 3-sect competition for 3 consecutive years, and his skills were not to be belittled on. The Wind Moon sect elder smiled as he chided the Qinglin sect elder for being shameless in his heart. Fu Lingtian clearly had the qualification to become an elite disciple in Qinglin sect since a long time ago, but the Qinglin sect elder delayed it by a year in order to let him participate in the 3-sect competition for another year. The Qinglin sect elder still wished for Fu Lingtian and Shun Qingyu to spar. While Shun Qingyu was very gifted, he was still young and was merely 12 years old this year. How could he spar with Fu Lingtian, who placed first for 3 consecutive years? As the 2 sect elders tested each other through their conversation, the people from Xianling's sect walked over. Elder Du, Elder Qian, greeted Elder Mo, the leader of the Xianling sect elders. Elder Du nodded slightly. Elder Qian swept a glance across the Xianling sect team and said, "Elder Mo, the people participating in the 3-sect competition this year from Xianling sect seem to be the same." Elder Mo did not say anything, and the elders behind him had a rather ugly expression. The 3-sect competition will officially begin tomorrow. I still need to instruct the disciples and will not accompany you all anymore. I'll take a leave first." Elder Qian lifted a hand to signal and left. Elder Du left soon after as well. As the elders from the 2 sects who were initially chatting happily left, the faces of Elder Mo and the rest who were still standing there turned dull. Yi Qingtang followed the other disciples into the court, and her brows were furrowed slightly when she saw the Qinglin sect and Wind Moon sect elders leaving after greeting the Xianling sect elders perfunctorily. Witnessing the sight, the other Xianling sect disciples similarly did not feel good. In the recent 100 years, Xianling sect barely had any achievements in the 3-sect competition, where the top disciple was mostly from the Wind Moon sect and the Qinglin sect. Currently, Qinglin sect's fame gradually increased due to Yunshao sect's support, and with Wind Moon sect, it was a fight between 2 tigers. Rather, it was Xianling sect which seemed to be absent from the battle. "Why do I find the person that the 2 sect elders mentioned a little familiar?" a Xianling sect disciple asked curiously. "Why wouldn't it be that Fu Lingtian topped the 3-sect competition for 3 years consecutively? It is said that he is extremely talented, and his comprehension abilities are very strong. I didn't know that he would still be here this year. I heard of that Shun Qingyu before. It is said that he is a blue spirit root. Although he is only about 12 or 13, he is extremely tough, and Elder Du from the Wind Moon sect babied him a lot. He is still young now though. I reckon that in at most 3 to 4 years, we should be able to see him on the ring of the 3-sect competition." Blue spirit root. Are you for real? In this day and age, a blue spirit root is extremely rare. I've never heard of many people who have it. In our sect, the highest grade spirit root seems to only be a green spirit root. Obviously. Do you think that blue spirit roots are carrots and vegetables that can be found all over the ground? Let me tell you, at the beginning of this year, the sect master of the Yunshao sect personally accepted a person with a blue spirit root as his official disciple. The disciples gasped upon hearing the information. The person had a blue spirit root and was even favored by the sect master of a super sect. Even if one used their bum to think, it was obvious that the disciple accepted by Yunxiao sect's sect master would become extremely powerful in no time. Chapter 414, Oddity 2. Apart from those famous powerful figures, the number of people in the younger generation who possess a blue spirit root could be counted with just a hand. That seems to be Shen Qingyu. A sharp-eyed disciple noticed a shy young boy with delicate features in the crowd of Wind Moon sect people and pointed towards him. A cold glint flashed across Yi Qingtang's eyes after listening to the Yunxiao sect rumors from his side. She looked in the direction that the person was pointing to. Yi Qingtang was stunned from this look. Wasn't the young boy who was standing amongst the Wind Moon sect disciples the little guy she met in Deer City that day? Back then, Yi Qingtang could tell that he was very gifted but had too little experience and was very pure. Yet, unexpectedly, he actually had such a powerful background. Isn't this that little imp? The Blood Moon sect elder beside Yi Qingtang took a look and identified Shen Qingyu in an instant. Was this not the little boy whose body he wanted to take over? He already knew that this boy's endowments were extremely stunning that time, and his body was the most suitable for the Blood Moon sect elder to take over. However, Yi Qingtang foiled his plans in the end and forcefully stuffed him into Zhou Chu's lousy body. If he had seized Shen Qingyu's body back then, his current skills would probably be better than Yi Qingtang. At that thought, the Blood Moon sect elder could not help but throw Yi Qingtang a resentful look. This darn girl was clearly born to jinx him. If he had not met her in Deer City, he would probably be living the life somewhere a long time ago. Why would he still need to be cooped in a sect and suffer the restraint of a group of people from the righteous sects? The more the Blood Moon sect elder thought about it, the more infuriated he was, and he could not stop himself from shooting a glare at Yi Qingtang. Yi Qingtang raised a brow as she tapped on the demonic blood sword casually. A chill ran down the Blood Moon sect elder's spine, and his face immediately froze. Shameless. If he could not defeat her, he would not let himself be bullied like this. What could the Blood Moon sect elder do though? Even if he was already burning with hatred, he did not dare to show it on his face at all and could only smile at Yi Qingtang awkwardly. Yi Qingtang looked away. Then, the other Xianling sect disciples were suddenly looking at a tall and good-looking disciple in the Qinglin sect team. In the group of Qinglin sect people, the disciple's position was clearly different from that of others, and even the Qinglin sect elders smiled at him. Fu Lingxian's condition this year seems to be even better than last year. This fellow clearly could be promoted as an elite disciple of Qinglin sect but just had to participate in the 3-sect competition with us. The Xianling sect disciples were moodier the more they thought about it. It was not that their skills were bad, but Fu Lingtian was truly powerful. In the past few years, as long as he was present, the disciples from other sects did not need to think about being the champion of the 3-sect competition. The disciples who were officially participating in the competition felt their blood freeze just by looking at Fu Lingtian. Yi Qingtang took a look as well. Fu Lingtian had a striking appearance, and it was no wonder Qinglin sect valued him this much. The Blood Moon sect elder followed Yi Qingtang's gaze and looked over as well, but this caused his brows to furrow unconsciously. This fellow is a little strange. Why? Yi Qingtang looked over. She initially thought that the Blood Moon sect elder wanted to take over Fu Lingxian's body after seeing that he had good endowments, but when she looked at the odd expression on the Blood Moon sect elder's face, she faintly sensed that something was off. Chapter 415, Oddity 3. The Blood Moon sect elder was not in a hurry to reply. He tapped his chin with a frown as he repeatedly scanned Fu Lingxian's body with sharp eyes, seeming to be searching for something. A moment later, shock filled the Blood Moon sect elder's eyes, and he immediately spoke softly. Why does this fellow have the aura of my Blood Moon sect? Aura of the Blood Moon sect? What do you mean by that? Yi Qingtang asked. The Blood Moon sect elder scanned the surroundings. After ensuring that other disciples were a distance away from them and would not be able to hear him, he replied in a hushed voice. The cultivation technique of the Blood Moon sect has a distinctive color of its own that other powers would not be able to imitate. Anyone who cultivated my sect's cultivation technique would faintly exude an aura of the evil spirit. Others may not be able to see this evil aura, and only we Blood Moon sect people would be able to tell. I see that this Fu Ling Tian is faintly exuding a bit of the air of an evil spirit. Why wouldn't it be strange? The Blood Moon sect elder thought it was weird. Qinglin's sect was a righteous sect, and the cultivation techniques were mostly based on the vital energy. It was utterly impossible for a disciple to possess an aura of the evil spirit, which was produced from evil cultivation techniques. There was doubt in Yi Qingtang's eyes. She had never cultivated the Blood Moon sect's evil cultivation techniques and naturally could not see the so-called aura of the evil spirit. However, wasn't it up to what the Blood Moon sect elder said as to whether this thing really existed? What is this expression that you're looking at me with? I did not lie to you. I just find it odd myself. The Blood Moon sect elder huffed, displeased to be stared by Yi Qingtang in suspicion. You have such a notorious record. Who can you blame? Yi Qingtang raised a brow. The Blood Moon sect elder was speechless by her words but truly felt that he was maligned this time. Darn girl, I'm really not lying to you this time. Who knows? Maybe this supposed Fu Ling Tian was also seized by a resurrected member of my sect. If you don't believe me, I can just find a chance to test him later, and we will know, the Blood Moon sect elder uttered seriously. The Blood Moon sect had been annihilated for a long time, and their cultivation techniques were long lost along with the annihilation of the sect. Not mentioning the disciples of righteous sects, even other forces would absolutely not be able to understand the cultivation techniques of their sect. The Blood Moon sect elder had a greedy thought. If Fu Ling Tian was really seized by a member of the Blood Moon sect, he would have found a partner. Moreover, he heard that Fu Lingshan's skills were powerful, and should they really be from the Blood Moon sect, he could use Fu Ling Tian to get rid of Yi Qingtang. However, the Blood Moon sect elder did not dare to let Yi Qingtang see through this thought of his. Yi Qingtang looked at the Blood Moon sect elder doubtfully and sensed that there was something fishy about what this old fellow was thinking of. However, she did not say anything and kept this curiosity inside her. If Fu Ling Tian was related to the Blood Moon sect, then the three-sect competition this time would probably not be as simple as expected. After all, the Blood Moon sect had many cultivation techniques using one's internal strength. While Yi Qingtang had the confidence to make herself conspicuous in this competition based on her skills, she would have to be more careful if the opponent was a person seized by a member of the Blood Moon sect. You better be obedient this time or else. Yi Qingtang chuckled as she casually clenched her knuckles, which set off a cracking sound. The back of the Blood Moon sect elder turned cold, though he had a sincere expression on his face. Don't worry. I will definitely be obedient this time. After hearing what the Blood Moon sect elder said, she did not say anything else and decided to find a chance to spy on Fu Ling Tian before the competition. Chapter 416, Oddity, 4. The official competition would begin the next day. The disciples from the three sects were led to their temporary area of residence by the Drifting Cloud Island's servants. In this trip, Yi Qingtang was the only female disciple from Xianling sect, and thus she was individually allocated to a room. The islanders of Drifting Cloud Island provided meals for the disciples on time. Time ticked by and the day darkened. Yi Qingtang had just finished washing up and was ready to sleep, but there was suddenly a knock on her door. Opening the door, she was greeted by the Blood Moon sect elder. I saw Fu Ling Tian from Qinglin's sect leaving his room just now. He went out alone. This is a chance. How about we follow him and take a look? The Blood Moon sect elder asked quietly. Fu Ling Tian was always with the other Qinglin sect disciples throughout the day, and the Blood Moon sect elder could not find a suitable opportunity to interact with him one-on-one despite tailing him for a long time. Now that he saw Fu Ling Tian leaving his room by himself, the thought immediately struck him. Yi Qingtang looked speechlessly at the Blood Moon sect elder, who was burning with eagerness. Looking up at the night sky, she eventually nodded in agreement. It was already dark then, and the competition would begin tomorrow. After days of journeying, the sect's disciples had already slept to recuperate and build up their energy in preparation for the big match the following day. When Yi Qingtang and the Blood Moon sect elder left the room, The island was dead silent, and not a single soul was in sight. Are you certain that you saw Fu Lingtian leave his room alone? Seeing the empty surroundings, she looked at the Blood Moon sect elder rather distrustfully. Believe me this time. I really saw it. He headed to the east of the island. The Blood Moon sect elder almost pointed to the sky and swore. Yi Qingtang headed to the east of Drifting Cloud Island along with the Blood Moon sect elder doubtfully. When they reached a forest in the east side, they saw Fu Lingtian, who was walking along the island's borders alone. In the dark night, Fu Lingtian stood at the borders of Drifting Cloud Island by himself. He looked up at the sky, seeming to be looking at the stars that dotted the sky. I told you I wasn't lying. Wait here, he'll go and test him now. Joy filled the Blood Moon sect elder when he caught sight of Fu Lingtian, and he immediately wanted to test the waters. But just as the Blood Moon sect elder was about to walk up, a wild gust of wind suddenly blew from the sky. Yi Qingtang looked towards the sky instinctively, where an enormous shadow emerged in the air and floated towards where Fu Lingtian was. Almost instantly, Yi Qingtang pulled the Blood Moon sect elder back and hid in the forest. Someone's there, Yi Qingtang said in a hushed voice. She could astutely sense a powerful aura mixed in that gust of strong wind. The Blood Moon sect elder did not dare to step up and decisively hid in the forest with Yi Qingtang. As they hid themselves, a giant figure wrapped in light neared Drifting Cloud Island rapidly. When the light was near the borders of Drifting Cloud Island, Yi Qingtang finally had a clear look of what that was. It was a huge nine-tailed spirit phoenix. Its feathers were the color of fire as though there were balls of flames gathered on it, while its huge frame was like a cloud that cast a large patch of shadows on the borders of Drifting Cloud Island, covering the stars and the moon. Nine-tailed spirit phoenix? Why would this high-level spirit animal appear here? Yi Qingtang frowned slightly. Shifting her gaze a little, she realized there were actually two people standing on the back of the nine-tailed spirit phoenix. Chapter 417, Yuan. It was the figure of a male and a female. The man had an ash-white complexion and was wearing a long black robe while the lady beside him was donned in white and had an arrogant and aloof expression. Under the moonlight, she was exceptionally beautiful like a fairy that descended into the world, commanding respect from everyone. However, Yi Qingtang's mind exploded when she saw the face of the girl in white. The girl standing on the back of the nine-tailed spirit phoenix was clearly Yu, the girl who snatched her spirit root back then. Never had Yi Qingtang expected to actually see Yu on the Drifting Cloud Island. The moment Yi Qingtang saw Yu's face, the emotions that Yi Qingtang had suppressed for a long time surged as though they wanted to rush out of her heart. She tightened her grip on the demonic blood sword as she glared at Yu, who stood on the nine-tailed spirit fox. Why would a Yunshao sect disciple come to Drifting Cloud Island? The Blood Moon sect elder did not sense the coldness on Yi Qingtang's face and only looked at Yu in surprise. Yunshao sect was one of the super sects, and its skills were out of the ordinary. To ordinary sects like Qinglin sect, Drifting Cloud Island may be an extremely good spot to cultivate but was probably nothing to a powerful sect like Yunshao sect. This girl is quite powerful. She can actually control a nine-tailed spirit phoenix. Looking at her overbearing air, this girl is at least martial chi level 3 already. The Blood Moon sect elder mumbled as he looked at Yu. Martial chi level 3. Yi Qingtang narrowed her eyes. She was only at the third heaven of martial chi level 1 and was a long distance from martial chi level 3. Back when Yu left Lin Town and entered Yunshao sect, her skills were similar to Yi Qingtang's. Yet, unexpectedly, Yu actually broke through to martial chi level 3 in just half a year. It should be known that Yi Qingtang's growth was supernatural to ordinary people, but despite this, she still could not win against the current Yu. Yi Qingtang forcefully suppressed the emotions in her heart and wished she could kill her enemy before her right now, yet rationality told her that she would only be courting death even if she rushed out with her current skills. To a martial chi level 3 Yu, it was an easy feat to kill her. A glint flashed across Yi Qingtang's eyes at that thought. Yuanshao sect lived up to its name as the first super sect. Yu was an official disciple of the Yunshao sect's sect master, and the cultivation resources naturally could not be compared to Xianling sects. Apart from the cultivation resources that Yunxiao sect provided, Yiyu could advance so quickly by using Yi Qingtang's blue spirit root. Only a superior grade spirit root could allow one to advance this quickly. Yiyu snatched everything from Yi Qingtang. There would ultimately be a day where she would seize everything back from Yiyu 100-fold. Yi Qingtang took a deep breath quietly and forcefully suppressed her emotions. As Yunxiao sect's sect master official disciple, why would Yiyu appear on Drifting Cloud Island? Just as Yi Qingtang was controlling her emotions, Yiyu had already lowered the nine-tailed spirit phoenix and directly faced Fu Lingtian, who was standing at the borders of Drifting Cloud Island. Fu Lingtian greets senior sister. When Fu Lingtian saw Yiyu, there was no surprise on his face, but rather, it was filled with respect. He kneeled down on one knee and greeted Yiyu, who was on the nine-tailed spirit phoenix. Yiyu nodded slightly without a trace of emotion on her aloof face. Chapter 418. Yiyu 2, how's the three-sect competition this year? Yiyu asked slowly. There is quite a number of disciples at the three-sect competition this year. Some Wind Moon sect disciples have pretty good endowments while there isn't much change for Xianling sect. However, there's Zhu Chang'e this year, whose spirit root is pretty good. If we can use his spirit root to nourish the disciples' spirit roots, there would be a great improvement in their spirit roots, Fu Lingtian said. When Yiyu heard the words Xianling sect, her brows furrowed a little. Xianling sect? Yes. Fu Lingtian nodded. Yiyu remained silent for a moment and continued. You don't need to touch Xianling sect's Zhu Chang'e. There's someone who will deal with it. Your main goal is the disciples of Wind Moon sect and Qinglin sect. Fu Lingtian replied. I understand. I will definitely settle everything properly. It is naturally best that you can understand. Back then, Yunxiao sect secretly allowed someone to recommend you into Qinglin sect in order for you to search for outstanding spirit roots in Qinglin sect and snatch them to nourish your own skills. You have entered Qinglin sect for many years. How are your skills now? You asked. Fu Lingtian replied. I have already advanced to the second heaven of martial qi level 2 a month ago. Yiyu nodded slightly. You can spar with Qinglin sect elders with your current abilities. Although it isn't bad. Then, her thread of discourse changed, and her eyes sharpened. However, you must remember that no matter whether you're in Qinglin sect or this three-sect competition, you must not reveal your second heaven of martial qi level 2 skills. Otherwise, it would arouse suspicion once someone sensed that your skills exceed that of ordinary disciples. If Yunxiao sect is dragged into this and the sect's glory is tarnished, the sect will definitely let you off. There was cold sweat on Fu Lingshan's forehead, and he said immediately, I know. I will definitely not reveal my skills. In this three-sect competition, I will suppress my skills to below martial qi level 2 on purpose and not arouse any suspicion. Fu Lingtian had entered the sect way longer than Yiyu, but at this moment, he was extremely pressured by Yiyu, who only entered Yunxiao sect for half a year. How could he be compared to someone who could advance from Khanate level 9 to first heaven of martial qi level 3 in just half a year? No wonder the sect master of Yunxiao sect would think so highly of Yiyu. That would be the best. Yiyu finally hid the coldness in her eyes and turned her head slightly to look at the man in the black robe beside her. Elder Chu, seizing spirit roots is your Blood Moon sect skill. Fu Lingtian has been in Qinglin sect for many years and has secretly seized many Qinglin sect disciples' spirit roots. Can you take a look at how his spirit root is currently? The man in the black robe nodded slightly. He walked forward and suddenly raised a hand, and a black fog shrouded over Fu Lingtian. After a moment, he kept the fog and took a step back. His spirit root is very stable from the nourishment. I believe it will improve in no time. Yiyu nodded and turned to look at Fu Lingtian. You must know your limits for the three-sect competition this time. After this, you should become an elite disciple of Qinglin sect. Most of the elite disciples in Qinglin sect are green spirit roots. By then, you will have even better resources. You still need to work hard. Do not let down Yunxiao sect's effort in training you. Thus, Fu Lingtian will definitely not let down the sect's expectation. Fu Lingtian declared loyally. Chapter 419, Spirit Seizure Technique, 1. Yu looked away in satisfaction and immediately left with Elder Chu on the nine-tailed spirit phoenix. After they left, Fu Lingtian finally stood up and headed in the direction he came from. However, Fu Lingtian did not know that Yi Qingtang and the Blood Moon Sect elder had already heard his conversation with Yu. Once everyone was gone, the two of them finally walked out of the forest. As Yi Qingtang watched Fu Lingtian's back view, her eyes were more serious than ever. They originally thought that Fu Lingtian was related to the Blood Moon Sect and thus wanted to test him, yet unexpectedly, the truth was way scarier than what they imagined. Little Chu is actually still alive. The Blood Moon Sect elder's expression turned increasingly grave at that instant. Was Elder Chu back there from your Blood Moon Sect? Yi Qingtang looked at the Blood Moon Sect elder, and her heart was unable to calm down after a long time. There was too much information in the conversation between Yi Yu and Fu Lingtian. Not only was the Blood Moon Sect involved, but there was also the secret of seizing a spirit root. What surprised Yi Qingtang the most was, from what Yi Yu and Fu Lingtian said, Fu Lingtian seemed to be a Yunshao sect disciple. However, this Yunshao sect disciple actually concealed himself in Qinglin's sect secretly in order to seize Qinglin's sect disciples' spirit roots and nourish himself. Little Chu is also an elder from the Blood Moon Sect. When Blood Moon Sect was annihilated back then, he was clearly the one who led troops to battle against Yunshao Sect. I originally thought he died for the sect, but the Blood Moon Sect elder clenched his teeth quietly and continued. This bastard actually betrayed Blood Moon Sect and turned to Yunshao Sect. The Blood Moon Sect elder was not a fool. Elder Chu's face and body were exactly the same as before. Thus, it was clear that this was Elder Chu's original body. Although the Blood Moon Sect's cultivation technique could allow their soul to live on forever, it was impossible for the body that was killed to be restored. To live again, the only way was to seize a body as the Blood Moon Sect elder had. That year, it was Elder Chu who led the battle against Yunshao Sect, yet he appeared beside a Yunshao Sect disciple well and alive, and from the way Yi Yu addressed him, it was easy to tell that Elder Chu had already turned to Yunshao Sect. No wonder I felt that Fu Lingtian had my sect's aura of the evil spirit. So it's because he learned the spirit seizure technique. The Blood Moon Sect elder scoffed coldly. Spirit seizure technique? Yi Qingtang frowned slightly. This spirit seizure technique is an esoteric cultivation technique of my sect. This technique is about digging others' spirit root and using the cultivation technique to convert it into one's energy from which one can nourish his own spirit root. The Blood Moon Sect elder narrowed his eyes and continued on. You're also aware that there's no such thing as stealing a spirit root for one's personal use, but the spirit seizure technique can work. Using this kind of cultivation technique to obtain others' spirit roots and nourish oneself could strengthen one's spirit root and even allow the spirit root's grade to directly improve. The more the Blood Moon Sect elder thought about it, the more livid he was. While Blood Moon Sect was condemned as an evil sect, he had never heard of any member of the sect betraying the sect and defecting to the enemy when the Blood Moon Sect was annihilated. Yet, 1,000 years later, he actually discovered such a traitor. Yi Qingtang was shocked. She only knew that everyone in the world deemed the act of seizing spirit root from others as contemptuous, and no one had ever done such a thing. However, thinking about it now, apart from Yi Yu, she had never heard of anyone seizing the spirit root from others in her previous life. Chapter 420, Spirit Seizure Technique, 2. She originally thought that it was the righteousness of humans, yet, it was actually because others simply did not know how to seize spirit roots to use for themselves. However, how did you know about the spirit seizure technique? The Blood Moon Sect elder scoffed. Fu Lingtian and that female disciple from Yunshao Sect clearly know each other. I reckon Fu Lingtian is originally from Yunshao Sect. To use the spirit seizure technique to nourish one's spirit root, victims whose spirit roots would be snatched away are needed. Yunshao Sect would not sacrifice their own disciples. Thus, in order to nourish their sect disciples, they would only secretly send their disciples to ordinary sects and let them obtain the spirit roots of ordinary sects' disciples in secret. What bullshit righteous sect? Ultimately, isn't it the same as my Blood Moon sect where they will stoop to anything to achieve their goal? So much for Yunshao sect declaring that they would suppress my evil sect when they are even more shameless themselves. Then, the Blood Moon sect elder looked at Yi Qingtang and said, to make their own disciples more powerful, Yunshao sect treated you all disciples of ordinary sects as sacrificial lambs. I'm afraid that the entire Qinglin sect is kept in the dark and is smug over obtaining Yunshao sect's support. No one knows they were intentionally fattened up by Yunshao sect so as to better feed the fat pigs that are Yunshao sect disciples. Given Yunshao sect's position, they simply did not need to bother with a sect like Qinglin sect. If there was not a motive, why would Yunshao sect support Qinglin sect? It seemed that Qinglin sect was a dowry for others and still was not self-aware. Yi Qingtang shuddered in terror as she listened. While the Blood Moon sect elder's words were ugly, every word he said was true. However, what Yi Qingtang was even more worried about was the last sentence that Yi Yu told Fu Lingtian. You don't need to touch Xianling sect's Zhuchanga. There's someone who will deal with it. Listening to it, her intention was to leave Zhuchanga for someone else. Could it be that there's also a disciple in Xianling sect who was secretly sent by Yunshao sect? Yi Qingtang's brows furrowed. When she died in her previous life, she was completely unaware of these underhand schemes that Yunshao sect had been pulling and naturally did not sense anything in Xianling sect. However, after this incident, she had no choice but to be concerned over this matter. Fu Lingtian clearly already had the skills of second heaven of martial qi level 2, but he deliberately concealed it and only declared that he was at the third heaven of martial qi level 1. It seems that he, as well, knew how difficult it was for an ordinary sect disciple to advance to the second heaven of martial qi level 2. In such a sect like Qinglin sect, many inner sect elders were probably at the second heaven of martial qi level 2. If Fu Lingtian displayed his true skills, wouldn't he become the top disciple of Qinglin sect? But are you shocked by the true colors of the so-called righteous sect? Seeing that Yi Qingtang did not say anything, he darted her a look. Do you still want to participate in the 3-sect competition this time? With that Fu Lingtian around, I think you should just drop that idea as soon as possible. Yi Qingtang narrowed her eyes slightly. Suddenly, her lips curled into a smile as she looked right straight at the Blood Moon sect elder. Her smile gave the Blood Moon sect elder goosebumps, and he swallowed his saliva uncontrollably. What is this expression? I was talking about those sects, not you. Yi Qingtang chuckled. I must take part in the competition no matter what. Chapter 421, Spirit Seizure Technique, 3. Huh? Are you crazy? The Blood Moon sect elder did not imagine it. He admitted that Yi Qingtang's skills were indeed not bad and that the speed of her advancement was shocking. However, Fu Lingtian's skills were an entire realm above hers. What was she going to fight Fu Lingtian with? Yi Qingtang looked up. The corners of her lips were lifted as she looked at the Blood Moon sect elder smilingly. Didn't you hear what Fu Lingtian and Yu said just now? What did they say? The Blood Moon sect elder was at a loss as he assumed that Yu whom Yi Qingtang mentioned was that female disciple of Yunshao sect. Fu Lingtian's skills are at the second heaven of martial qi level 2, but does he dare to reveal it? Yi Qingtang spoke with a seeming smile. The Blood Moon sect elder was slightly dumbfounded. Then he recalled that Yu sternly instructed Fu Lingtian to not show his true skills before she left. A second heaven of martial qi level 2 disciple came to participate in the 3-sect competition. If this was exposed, how would Wind Moon sect and Xianling sect think? And what kind of reaction would Qinglin sect have? Coldness flashed across Yi Qingtang's eyes. When Yunshao sect secretly sent Fu Lingtian to Qinglin sect, they definitely employed the help of other powerful figures. If Qinglin sect sensed that there was something off about Fu Lingtian, they would definitely investigate it, and by then, perhaps they would find out that Fu Lingtian was actually a Yunshao sect disciple. When it was made known that a mighty super sect actually sent their disciples to an ordinary sect in secret, everyone would suspect what Yunshao sect's motives were. By then, Yunshao sect's reputation would be completely tarnished. The Blood Moon sect elder thought from another perspective. And indeed, as what Yi Qingtang said, Fu Lingtian did not dare to reveal his true abilities. So you really want to participate tomorrow? Yi Qingtang nodded lightly. She needed to become an elite disciple in a short time and had to make a name for herself in this three-sect competition. There's no hurry though. Tomorrow is the three-sect competition. I want to see how that Fu Lingtian acts in the competition. Yi Qingtang smiled. Looking at the coldness that glistened in Yi Qingtang's eyes, the Blood Moon Sect elder had a feeling that Yi Qingtang's stance was completely different when the matter involved Yunshao sect. He recalled the shocked expression on her face when Yi Yu from Yunshao sect appeared, and suspicion rose in his heart. Yi Qingtang, could it be that there is some enmity between this darn girl and Yi Yu? Nevertheless, the Blood Moon Sect elder did not have the audacity to probe Yi Qingtang directly and could only suppress this guess temporarily. Yi Qingtang took a deep breath, and a thought appeared in her head suddenly. You said that people who cultivated your Blood Moon Sect's cultivation technique would have the air of the evil spirit? Yeah. The Blood Moon Sect elder nodded. A light flashed across Yi Qingtang's eyes suddenly. She still did not know how to find the Yunshao sect disciple who was hidden in Xianling sect, but she had a good idea now. Very well. When this three-sect competition ends and we return to Xianling sect, you must look carefully. If you discover any Xianling sect disciple who has the air of the evil spirit, inform me immediately. Yunshao sect dared to let their sect disciples cultivate the Blood Moon Sect's spirit seizure technique so brazenly because they were certain that the Blood Moon Sect was already annihilated, and others that had never learned Blood Moon Sect's cultivation technique thus would naturally be unable to see the air of the evil spirit. But Yi Qingtang had a Blood Moon Sect elder by her side. Chapter 422, The Competition, 1. Yunshao sect was Yi Yu's biggest prop, and if Yunshao sect fell, Yi Yu would naturally lose a backing. Yi Qingtang knew it was definitely not a simple thing to topple such a powerful Yunshao sect, but as long as there was a chance, she would not mind giving them some trouble. This matter was huge, and she could not act rashly. After seeing Yi Yu today, Yi Qingtang was aware of the distance between her and Yi Yu, and the sense of urgency to enter the mystic realm and obtain the Black Heaven water intensified. Yi Yu could advance to martial Qi level 3 in such a short span of time, and this was definitely related to her blue spirit root. If Yi Qingtang wanted to chase up to Yi Yu's level, the only way was to increase the grade of her spirit root. She must obtain the Black Heaven water. The next morning, the three-sect competition officially began. Elders and disciples of all sects arrived at the main venue of the competition early in the morning. The competition this time was split into three categories: martial skills, array formation, and medicine refinement. The level of martial skills was the most important while array formation and medicine refinement were supplementary. The three categories of the competition were held in three different areas. As a disciple participating in the array formation, the Blood Moon Sect elder was dragged to the array formation ring by Elder Qin. Yi Qingtang stood beside the ring for the martial skills competition by herself as her eyes silently landed on Fu Lingtian, who was surrounded by people opposite of her. There was no emotion on Fu Lingtian's face, but there was an undetectable arrogance in his eyes. He looked at the competition in the ring coldly in disdain. The people that the sects sent up initially were mostly the weaker disciples in the team, and the sects were testing the skills of the opposing disciples. The disciples going up last were seated below the ring, including Xianling sect's Zhu Chang'e. At this instant he was seated beside Elder Lin, who whispered to Zhu Chang'e privately as they watched the match, perhaps reminding him on the matters to look out for. In the three-sect competition this year, Xianling sect thought most highly of Zhu Chang'e. Previously, Yi Qingtang suspected whether Zhu Chang'e was a disciple sent by Yunshao sect, but after the Blood Moon Sect elder's observation, there was no air of the evil spirit on Zhu Chang'e's body. As the competition continued, the disciples who were sent up later were more powerful. However, throughout the competition, Xianling sect was evidently repressed by Wind Moon sect and Qinglin sect, and Xianling sect disciples were no match for their opponents in the competition. The Xianling sect elders' faces darkened. It is obvious that the skills of Qinglin sect and Wind Moon sect's disciples are more steady than last year. Elder Mo frowned. From the current situation, Xianling sect was at a disadvantage. They're only slightly more inferior, but the difference is not big. I told Zhu Chang'e the cultivation techniques of Wind Moon sect and Qinglin sect just now so that he can be more careful when he goes up later, Elder Lin said. How does Zhu Chang'e feel? Does he have the confidence to fight with Fu Lingtian? Elder Mo asked. There shouldn't be a big problem. Fu Lingtian is at the second stage of the third heaven of martial qi level 1, and so is Zhu Chang'e. If they were to compare their levels, there shouldn't be any difference between both of them. As long as Zhu Chang'e is stable during the match, I believe he has a chance to win. Elder Lin was rather assured. For this 3-sect competition, he focused all his energy on training Zhu Chang'e for nearly half a year. That is the best. If we lose again this year, I'm afraid, Elder Mo did not continue on, but all the elders present knew what followed. Chapter 423, The Competition, 2. Xianling sect had lost too many times such that even Wind Moon sect had surpassed them and steadily placed second. If Xianling sect still did not have any achievements this year, they would most probably end up as a laughingstock to the other two sections. Rest assured, this year will definitely not be like the past few years. I have confidence in Zhu Chang'e. Elder Lin smiled. Although Zhu Chang'e's eyes never left the ring, he heard everything that the elders said and took a deep breath as confidence stretched on his face. After rounds of battles, the elders of the sects had a clear understanding of the situation. A Wind Moon sect elder took the lead to nod at a disciple beside him, who went up to the ring subsequently. Feng Yiran of Wind Moon sect? Elder Mo's eyes narrowed slightly when he saw the Wind Moon sect disciple who walked up to the ring. Feng Yiran is the most skilled in this group of Wind Moon sect disciples. He seems to have reached the second stage of the third heaven of martial qi level 2. With Wind Moon sect sending Feng Yiran up now, they probably want to end this competition as quickly as possible, Elder Lin said with a laugh. As he spoke, Feng Yiran had already defeated a disciple on the ring and was waiting for disciples from the other two sects to challenge him in the stance of a victor. Zhu Chang'e looked at Elder Lin, wanting to enter the ring. However, Elder Lin shook his head. There's no hurry. Since Wind Moon sect already sent Feng Yiran, Qinglin sect would naturally not waste any time either. We'll let them fight first. It is not late to go up after seeing their skills. Zhu Chang'e followed the orders and sat down silently. As expected, not long after Elder Lin spoke, the Qinglin sect elders had already given orders to Fu Lingtian, who immediately leaped up into the ring. Fu Lingtian from Qinglin sect. Do enlighten me. Once Fu Lingtian was in the ring, everyone was enthusiastic immediately. Feng Yiran was not surprised by Fu Lingtian's appearance and cupped his hands in front of his chest. Feng Yiran from Wind Moon sect. Feng Yiran and Fu Lingtian were at a similar skill level, and this match was truly a wrestle between a tiger and a dragon. The expressions of all the elders became serious at that instant. The real competition only began now. The atmosphere in the ring turned heavy. Fu Lingtian had placed first for 3 consecutive years, and even if it was Feng Yiran, he had to be careful. Then, Feng Yiran directed his energy and took the lead to attack Fu Lingtian. Both disciples were at the third heaven of martial qi level 1, and one could imagine how powerful they were. In just the blink of an eye, there were thunderous sounds of explosions on the ring. With electricity in the air, both parties charged forward with full force and were locked in combat. The intensity in the ring right now was incomparable to before. The disciples of the Wind Moon sect and Qinglin sect widened their eyes as they watched the battle between the aces of both teams. Ardor and zeal coursed through their blood. Zhu Chang'e fixed his eyes on the two people on the ring. He was very clear that after this match, the person remaining on the ring would be the opponent he would be facing. With the heavy responsibility of protecting the sect's glory, Zhu Chang'e did not dare to be the slightest bit careless. Fu Lingtian is indeed steady. Feng Yiran's attacks are sharp, and it seems that the Wind Moon sect elders taught him meticulously. Elder Mo's expression was tense as he observed the sparring on the ring. Feng Yiran's attacks were extremely fast, and his movements were swift, while Fu Lingtian was as stable as Mount Taishan, a symbol of great weight or import. No matter which tricky spot Feng Yiran attacked from, Fu Lingtian could resolve all of them. Neither of them had the upper hand. As the swords glimmered, a sharp expression flashed across Fu Lingtian's eyes, and he suddenly attacked with a sword which directly passed Feng Yiran's incoming sword and stabbed towards his glabella. Chapter 424. The Competition, 3. Alarmed, Feng Yiran hurriedly withdrew his hands and retreated backward. However, it was as though Fu Lingtian had long guessed Feng Yiran's actions, and he sprinted forward at top speed and kicked Feng Yiran off the ring right when he retreated. Feng Yiran was thrown down the ring, and a look of astonishment flashed across his face. At that very last moment he clearly felt that Fu Lingtian's speed doubled. Otherwise, he would have reacted in time. Thank you for the enlightenment. Fu Lingtian stood in the ring alone with an arrogant smile, as he unhurriedly cupped his hands together at Feng Yiran below the ring. Feng Yiran's expression was very ugly. During the sparring, he clearly felt that there was not a huge gap between him and Fu Lingtian, but who knew that he would actually be flung off the ring in the end? I've lost. Thank you for your enlightenment, brother Fu. While Feng Yiran was unwilling, he could only hold it in. He walked to sit in front of his master with a pale face. The Wind Moon sect elders did not expect Feng Yiran to lose as well, and their expressions were not pretty. On the other hand, the Qinglin sect elders were full of smiles and were complacent. Zhu Chang'e, how do you feel after watching their sparring? Elder Lin, who had been observing the match from below the ring, asked Zhu Chang'e after seeing that Fu Lingtian was victorious. I thought that Feng Yiran and Fu Lingtian were on par, but Fu Lingtian is more experienced and predicted Feng Yiran's move, which helped him win in the end, replied Zhu Chang'e honestly. If it were you, how do you think you would fare? Elder Lin asked again. I would definitely not be this careless. Zhu Chang'e replied. How confident are you? Elder Lin questioned. After thinking carefully, Zhu Chang'e replied. 60%. His skills were at the same level as Fu Lingtian and had been through Elder Lin's tough training in the past half a year. Furthermore, his battle experiences were not lesser than Fu Lingtian's. There was nothing special in the match between Fu Lingtian and Feng Yiran. However, he had a card in his hand, and thus his chance of winning was higher. 60%. Elder Mo pondered for a while and uttered. Chang'e, this match concerns the sect's glory. You must put in your 100,000% in the match. Go along. I'll do as you say. Zhu Chang'e immediately received the orders and entered the ring. Zhu Chang'e from Xianling sect. Please enlighten me. Zhu Chang'e stood opposite of Fu Lingtian and said with his hands cupped together. Fu Lingtian requited, and the two confronted each other immediately. Below the ring, Elder Lin was rather confident in Zhu Chang'e. Don't worry, Elder Mo Chang'e will not be as careless as Wind Moon sect's Feng Yiran. Elder Lin looked at Elder Mo, who was frowning. That would be the best if that's the case. However, Fu Lingtian is very steady, and we must not belittle him. Elder Mo uttered. I know that our sect must not lose in the 3-sect competition this year. Thus, I specially intensified Change's training in the past half a year. He already has initial success in the Moonlight Steps swordplay technique, Elder Lin said confidently. Elder Mo was slightly stunned. The Moonlight Steps swordplay technique was a high-level swordplay technique of Xianling sect. Even if it was an initial success, its force was already extremely huge. After knowing about this, Elder Mo's heart finally calmed down. Yi Qingtang was standing not far away behind the two elders at that instant, and the conversation between the two elders fell into her ears. When Elder Lin spoke with confidence, the corners of Yi Qingtang's lips tugged up secretly. Chapter 425. The Competition, 4. Initial success in the Moonlight Steps swordplay technique? Definitely. The Moonlight Steps swordplay technique was a high-level swordplay technique, and having small attainment was enough to battle opponents below martial chi level 2. However, Fu Lingtian was a solid second heaven of martial chi level 2. Even if he concealed his abilities on purpose, he still had the background. With Zhu Change's degree of understanding of the Moonlight Steps swordplay technique, he would simply be unable to deal with Fu Lingtian. Previously, Yi Qingtang noticed that while Fu Lingtian controlled his abilities within Stage 2 of the Third Heaven of Martial Qi Level 1, he still revealed a combat power that exceeded his level for a second. It was just that he concealed it very cleverly and knew his limits, thus giving others the impression that he won by a hair. In reality, victory was in the bag for this fellow. Everyone was unaware of Fu Lingtian's true skills and still thought that Feng Yiran, Zhu Chang'e, and Fu Lingtian were matched evenly in skills. On the ring, Fu Lingtian wore a cautious expression as though he was treating the match seriously, but only Yi Qingtang knew that Fu Lingtian was merely just acting. Given his true level of abilities, how was Zhu Chang'e even his opponent? Elder Lin and other Xianling sect elders were expectant. If Zhu Chang'e could take Fu Lingtian down, the repression that Xianling sect had suffered for so many years would finally end. Rapidly, Zhu Chang'e made a move. The sword in his hand seemed to turn into a sky of stars as he struck, and with a few flashes of the sword, it stabbed towards Fu Lingtian fiercely. Moonlight Steps Swordplay Technique. When the Qinglin sect elders below the ring noticed the Moonlight Steps swordplay technique that Zhu Chang'e used, their eyes flickered. Moonlight Steps swordplay technique was a high-level swordplay technique of Xianling sect, and many disciples who participated in the competition would display this technique. However, this set of swordplay technique was too profound. Hence, no disciples could understand its true essence and only had a spattering of the technique. However, this was already enough to face normal opponents. Once Zhu Chang'e employed the Moonlight Steps swordplay technique, the Qinglin sect elders sharply sensed that Zhu Chang'e's understanding of the technique clearly surpassed the other Xianling sect disciples who competed. Walking in the moonlight and turning the sword into stars, this was the essence of the Moonlight Steps swordplay technique. Zhu Chang'e could already turn his sword into a shadow now, and evidently, he had some grasp on the profound swordplay technique. On the ring, Zhu Chang'e's attacks were sharp, and every time his sword struck, it would be a flash of shadows. Fu Lingtian blocked the attacks with his sword and had to find the real sword amongst its many shadows, which was a dizzying sight. At the beginning of the sparring, Fu Lingtian faintly displayed a disadvantaged position. Then, a look of satisfaction was seen on Elder Lin's face. He had personally taught Zhu Chang'e the Moonlight Step swordplay technique. Even though Zhu Chang'e had not completely comprehended the profoundness of the Moonlight Step swordplay technique, he already had initial success, and there was a chance of winning when Zhu Chang'e used this against Fu Lingtian. After he saw the Moonlight Step swordplay technique that Zhu Chang'e displayed, his racing heart finally calmed down a little as he hoped that Zhu Chang'e could seize Xianling sect's victory in the three-sect competition this time. The elders were judging Zhu Chang'e's level of comprehension while the disciples were looking at the offensive. Seeing how Zhu Chang'e could actually gain a slight upper hand, the Xianling sect disciples' eyes brightened immediately. Senior brother Zhu's Moonlight Step swordplay technique is so skillful that Fu Lingtian actually has no room to strike back? It's both the Moonlight Step swordplay technique, but why do I not have even 1/10 of senior brother Zhu's skills? He seriously has my respect. Chapter 426, The Competition 5. Feng Yiran from Wind Moon Sect is already defeated. As long as senior brother Zhu can win against Fu Lingtian, our Xianling sect will definitely place in the first in this three-sect competition. The disciples felt an upsurge in emotion. This concerned the sect's glory, and if Zhu Chang'e won, all of them who participated in the competition would glow. They clenched their fists tightly and screamed to cheer for Zhu Chang'e. Looking at how the Xianling sect disciples behaved as though victory was at hand, Yi Qingtang from aside, however, did not smile at all. Zhu Chang'e could win against Fu Lingtian? Yi Qingtang could not help but shake her head quietly. From the current situation, Zhu Chang'e seemed to have the upper hand, but this was only seemingly. Given Zhu Chang'e's comprehension of the Moonlight Steps swordplay technique, there should not be a problem in fighting a normal disciple at the third heaven of Martial Qi Level 1. However, Fu Lingtian's true abilities were far from this. The sword shadows that Zhu Chang'e created were simply unable to confuse an opponent above Martial Qi Level 2. The disadvantageous position that Fu Lingtian held currently was merely an intentional act of his. She had to say though that Fu Lingxian's acting was extremely skillful, and even all the elders below the ring could not tell his true level of skill. However, Fu Lingtian definitely would not really lose to Zhu Chang'e. Yi Qingtang narrowed her eyes as she focused on the ring. Zhu Chang'e was on the offense continuously and used the Moonlight Steps swordplay technique to restrict all of Fu Lingxian's attacks. As he saw that Fu Lingtian was in passivity, delight emerged within Zhu Chang'e. If he could win against Fu Lingtian in front of everyone, he would definitely receive a huge reward when he returned to Xianling sect. At that thought, Zhu Chang'e was even more spirited, and his attacks were increasingly sharp. Fu Lingtian looked at Zhu Chang'e, who suddenly quickened and sharpened his attacks, with a heavy expression. However, there was a sneer in his narrowed eyes, and an undetectable impatience swept across his eyes. How dare a mere third heaven of martial qi level 1 act so proudly before me? Fu Lingxian's eyes changed. Zhu Chang'e did not sense Fu Lingxian's change and attacked with full force. But just as he spun and waved his sword, Fu Lingtian suddenly escaped from Zhu Chang'e's attack range with a flash when Zhu Chang'e was striking back. Once Zhu Chang'e was ready to attack again, Fu Lingtian sprinted to the back of Zhu Chang'e and slashed his sword across Zhu Chang'e's waist before he could react in time. In a moment, blood dripped down from Zhu Chang'e's waist. His white clothes were stained red by the blood. Never did Zhu Chang'e expect Fu Lingtian to suddenly change his moves and seize an interval to attack him. Under the pain, Zhu Chang'e's movements paused for a moment, and it was in this instant where Fu Lingtian sprung up and kicked the wound at Zhu Chang'e's waist repeatedly. Blood gushed out as Fu Lingtian stamped on the cut. Zhu Chang'e was kicked to the edge of the ring, and although he had not fallen off the ring, there was already a pool of blood below him, and his face was beaded with cold sweat from the pain. The smile on Elder Lin's face froze at this instant. He originally thought that Zhu Chang'e could defeat Fu Lingtian at that moment and did not expect. Fu Lingtian was actually able to see through Zhu Chang'e's approach and grasp a chance to deliver a fatal blow. Chapter 427, Volunteer, 1. At this instant, Elder Lin really could not smile anymore. The cut on Zhu Chang'e's waist was not shallow as blood dripped all over the ground. In addition, Fu Lingtian violently thumped on Zhu Chang'e's injury, which caused Zhu Chang'e to be extremely pale. Zhu Chang'e instinctively wanted to force himself up, but Elder Mo's voice suddenly rang. "That's enough, Zhu Chang'e." Zhu Chang'e's face was ash-white as he stood with difficulty. His body was stiff. Looking at Fu Lingtian, who was a few steps away from him, his eyes were filled with discontent. He was clearly just so close. Elder Mo. Elder Lin's face froze after hearing Elder Mo. Nonetheless, Elder Mo shook his head and said, if Zhu Chang'e continues on, he would lose his life here. Elder Mo's words were like a pail of cold water that showered on Elder Lin. Elder Lin turned to look at Zhu Chang'e, who was covered in blood, and his face paled. Zhu Chang'e's injuries were serious. Fu Lingtian managed to find an opportunity even during Zhu Chang'e's best condition. Even if he continued to battle on with these injuries, it was nothing but a slow death, and there was no possibility of turning the tables. Elder Lin's prior anticipation vanished into thin air then. Clenching his fists secretly, he took a deep breath and announced, Zhu Chang'e, come down. Zhu Chang'e's face paled, but he did not dare to defy the orders of two elders and could only cast his sword aside in resignation, which symbolized that he admitted defeat. Zhu Chang'e was supported down the ring by a few disciples. His hands were pressed on the wound on his waist, where blood continuously seeped out through the gaps between his fingers. However, he had an upset and vexed expression as he blamed himself for not being more careful. At that time, it was as though a giant rock collapsed on the hearts of everyone from Xianling sect, and the thin string of hope that just arose completely vanished along with Zhu Chang'e's defeat. It's over. Senior brother Zhu lost. I'm afraid we are. Despair was written on all the disciples' faces. Zhu Chang'e was the most skilled disciple out of everyone who came. Now that even he was defeated, there was no longer a possibility for Xianling sect to attain the first place. It was not only that though. Although Feng Yiran from Wind Moon sect was also defeated, his injuries were not severe, and he could participate in the competition for second place the next day. However, looking at the streaks of blood under Zhu Chang'e, everyone was extremely gloomy. With Zhu Chang'e's severe injuries, he would probably not have a chance to contend for the second place tomorrow. The Qinglin sect elders broke into an arrogant smile once again after witnessing the sight. Elder Mo, thank you for the good fight, a Qinglin sect elder said smilingly to the pale Elder Mo without concealing his conceit. Elder Qian, aren't your Fu Lingshan's attacks too harsh? Elder Lin spoke ahead of Elder Mo with a dark expression. He took a look at Zhu Chang'e's injuries. If not for the fact that Zhu Chang'e's body condition was tough enough, he would have almost lost his life under Fu Lingshan's attacks. The three-sect competition had always rules that had competitors refrain from overdoing, yet Fu Lingshan's attacks were too cruel. Qinglin sect elder replied disapprovingly. The ring is dangerous. Even if there are casualties, it is normal. Elder Lin's face darkened. Similarly, Elder Mo's expression was not too good. Zhu Chang'e was already their biggest chip in this competition. Now that he was tragically defeated, who else could go up? Chapter 428, Volunteer 2. The belittling expression in the Qinglin sect elders' eyes was increasingly obvious as they looked at the Xianling sect elders. He was certain that Xianling sect did not have anyone to send up anymore. Now that Zhu Chang'e sustained serious injuries, they probably would not even have the chance to contend for the second position with Wind Moon sect. But is there no one else from Xianling sect or Wind Moon sect? Then this year, the champion of the three-sect competition would belong to our Qinglin sect, the Qinglin sect elder said smugly with sarcasm behind his words. The elders of both Wind Moon sect and Xianling sect had rather ugly expressions. A young boy with delicate features standing beside a Wind Moon sect elder frowned tightly. He instinctively tugged on the Wind Moon sect elder's sleeves and said, "Master, I am willing to go up for a match." That young boy who requested a challenge was Shun Qingyu, who was known as a child prodigy. The Wind Moon sect elder looked at Shun Qingyu's determined expression. He hesitated for a long while but still shook his head ultimately. "You are still young and don't have enough experience. This Fu Lingshan's attacks are very fierce and violent. Before any training, you must not battle with him." Shen Qingyu's talent was definitely above that of Fu Lingshan's, but he was too young, and he had only cultivated for a short time, which was still not enough to have a match with the merciless Fu Lingtian. Moreover, the Wind Moon sect elder just witnessed Zhu Chang'e from Xianling sect being severely injured, and it was apparent how ruthless Fu Lingtian was. If Shen Qingyu really went up, he would probably suffer a vicious blow. Elder Qian's disciple is indeed amazing. Wind Moon sect admits defeat. The Wind Moon sect elder took a deep breath and declared. Even if they lost the first-place position, Feng Yiran still had the opportunity to fight for the second position, and there was no need to send Shun Qingyu up to risk right now. After that announcement from his master, there was no chance for Shun Qingyu to enter the ring even if he wanted to, and he could only clench his fists in reluctance. Conceit filled the Qinglin sect elders' eyes after Wind Moon sect made their stance known. Subsequently, the Qinglin sect elder looked at Xianling sect, who was still struggling in difficulty. Xianling sect had been defeated for many years, and if they lost again this year, they most likely would not have any face to participate in the three-sect competition in the following years. Elder Mo, is there anyone else from Xianling sect that is going up? Asked the Qinglin sect elder arrogantly. He was sure that Xianling sect did not have any more disciples who could have a match with Fu Lingtian. Elder Mo's expression darkened. No matter how good his temper was, he was inflamed from the Qinglin sect elder's cynical remarks. The Xianling sect disciples were extremely displeased, but none of them dared to accept the challenge when Qinglin sect asked. They could not even win against Zhu Chang'e, much less Fu Lingtian. As Elder Mo was about to finally admit defeat after remaining silent for a long while, a figure suddenly walked out from the crowd. She stood in front of Elder Mo and bowed. "I am willing to enter the ring for a match with Fu Lingtian." The moment the voice sounded, everyone's eyes looked in the direction of the voice. Elder Mo looked in astonishment at the person in front of him who volunteered. "Yi Qingtang." Never would Elder Mo expect that the person who stood out at this instant would actually be Yi Qingtang. Surprise flashed across Elder Lin's eyes when he saw Yi Qingtang. When Yi Qingtang's name appeared in the list of names for the reserved disciples initially, he was skeptical but did not say anything. Yet, Yi Qingtang wanted to enter the ring right now? This was truly beyond Elder Lin's expectations. Chapter 429, Volunteer, 3. Elder Mo frowned immediately, and his gaze shifted away from Yi Qingtang without giving any reply. Yi Qingtang was only a reserved disciple. How was she able to battle with Fu Lingtian? Everyone was still waiting for someone to say something, but the Qinglin sect elders were beaming as they looked at Fu Lingtian in satisfaction. Apart from the usage rights of Drifting Cloud Island, the three sects still had other wagers in the three-sect competition every year. In this competition, most of the wagers of the sects were similar to those in previous years. Other than spirit pills and elixirs, each sect even added a Dharma treasure as wagers. With Fu Lingtian claiming the champion position, Qinglin sect would become the biggest winner once again. Qinglin sect really trained an amazing disciple. The Wind Moon sect elder looked at the Qinglin sect elders and said with a laugh. All of the elders witnessed Fu Lingtian's abilities. He had an extremely strong comprehension of martial skills, and almost no one in the same level as him could be his opponent. While Wind Moon sect's wagers were not little, their loss would not be too large with at least a second place. You flatter us. Shen Qingyu from your Wind Moon sect is extraordinarily gifted. He is merely young now and does not have enough experience. In a few years' time, he will definitely be able to yield brilliant results and claim the champion position. The Qinglin sect elder laughed. At that moment, the expressions of everyone from Xianling sect were extremely ugly. The conversation between Wind Moon sect and Qinglin sect seemed to have completely ignored the presence of Xianling sect. If Wind Moon sect could place first years later, didn't that mean that the Xianling sect would always be at the bottom? If that was the case, what was the point of competing? In these few years, Xianling sect did not have any fate with the usage rights of Drifting Cloud Island. Xianling sect's wagers were similar to the other two sects every year, and the losses that they sustained over the years were already extremely horrifying. Yet, Xianling sect could not refuse to participate. The three-sect competition traced back to hundreds of years ago and had already become a tradition. If they were unwilling to participate, it would mean that they were afraid of the other two sects, and should this be circulated, their reputation would drop drastically. Elder Qin, who had already sent the Blood Moon sect elder for the array formation competition, arrived at the moment and happened to see the situation. His brows were slightly furrowed as he sighed. If they had to blame, they could only blame the fact that Xianling sect did not have any better disciples. Being last in the three-sect competition every year, they could not blame Qinglin sect disciples for being too powerful. Zhu Chang's fists clenched as he looked at the expressions of the elders. Although he wanted to fight for the sect's glory, Fu Lingtian's skills were too frightening, and especially after sparring with him, he realized he had no chance of winning. Elder Mo shook his head. The three-sect competition had already ended, and he naturally did not think much of Yi Qingtang's request. Xianling sect was to be the last again this year, and this was a definite fact. I declare this year's competition over. The first place goes to Qinglin sect, the second place goes to Wind Moon sect, and the third place goes to Xianling sect. A Qinglin sect elder walked up and announced rather proudly. Hold on. Right when the three-sect competition was about to come to an end, a voice was heard. Elders from the three sects frowned slightly at the voice, and they looked at Yi Qingtang, displeased. Xianling sect disciple, do you have any objections? The elder who announced the results was impatient. Elder, the competition hasn't ended. I haven't entered the ring for a match, Yi Qingtang said slowly with a calm expression. The moment Yi Qingtang finished her sentence, everyone from Qinglin sect and Wind Moon sect was stunned. Chapter 430, Grant A Move 1. Wasn't this girl a reserved disciple from Xianling sect? Normally, reserved disciples were only to fill the numbers and rarely took part in the actual competition. You wish to have a match? The Qinglin sect elder was slightly taken aback. He had never heard of a reserve disciple requesting to enter the ring, although they did have the right to participate as well. Yes. Yi Qingtang nodded. Then, that Qinglin sect elder looked at the few Xianling sect elders. While reserve disciples did have the right to take part, the permission of the sect's elders was still required. What is Yi Qingtang doing? As a substitute disciple, she still wants to go up and fight with Fu Lingtian? Is she talking big to impress people? Some Xianling sect disciples who came along in this trip sneered. Step back, Yi Qingtang. There were no emotions on Elder Mo's face while his voice was cold and detached. When Yi Qingtang requested to participate the first time, he had already rejected her request with his silence, yet unexpectedly, she actually mentioned it again. The three-sect competition had already ended, and there was no need to continue on. As a reserve disciple, I wish to enter the ring and learn from senior brother Fu. Yi Qingtang smiled. There's no need to. Elder Mo replied indifferently. Xianling sect placed last once again this year, and their morale was already at rock bottom. Why would they still allow Yi Qingtang to play around? Master, since we cannot win the competition, if I can learn something from sparring with senior brother Fu, it will be useful as well. Seeing that Elder Mo was disapproving of her request, Yi Qingtang changed her argument immediately. With that said, realization suddenly dawned on the disciples from all three sections. Fu Lingxian's attainments in martial skills were extremely high, and they would definitely be able to learn a thing or two by sparring with him. I've never thought that this reserved disciple from Xianling sect would not be willing to let go of any chance to improve. A few Wind Moon sect elders commented as they laughed. Elder Mo, since Yi Qingtang has the mind to learn, just let her go then. If she really learns something, this trip would not be wasted. Elder Qin persuaded after seeing Yi Qingtang's stubbornness. After hearing it, Elder Mo was silent for a moment and finally relented. Since that is so, go ahead then. Take note of the way and angle that Fu Lingtian attacks with. It would be great if you can improve from this. Thank you, Master. After gaining Elder Mo's approval, Yi Qingtang immediately entered the competition court. Senior brother Fu, junior sister Yi Qingtang is honored to learn from you. Yi Qingtang smiled at Fu Lingtian and cupped her fists together. Fu Lingtian took a glimpse at Yi Qingtang. He obviously heard what Yi Qingtang said previously. Junior sister Yi, since you wish to learn something from me, I will grant you 5 moves. All the disciples from the three sects were surprised to hear this. Fu Lingtian was actually granting Yi Qingtang 5 moves? What was the concept of 5 moves? When formidable people sparred, their lives and deaths could be determined in seconds, and even half a move was enough for a decisive outcome, much less 5 moves. Senior brother Fu is so generous. 5 moves? If he granted Feng Yiran 5 moves, the first place for this competition would definitely be Wind Moon sects. That is definite. However, the opponent is only a substitute disciple from Xianling sect. Granting 5 moves is not anything, and it displays the generosity of senior brother Fu instead. That Xianling sect disciple's luck is indeed good. She has a chance of 5 moves and can learn even more from senior brother Fu Lingtian. However, a smile passed by Yi Qingtang's eyes as she looked at Fu Lingtian. She shook her head and said, Senior brother Fu, you are the defending champion of the 3-sect competition while I'm only a disciple at the bottom of the Xianling sect team. Granting me 5 moves is too petty already. Chapter 431. Grant a move too. 5 moves is still petty? Isn't the Xianling sect disciple too? If 5 moves still aren't enough, then should he grant her 10 moves? The Qinglin sect disciple sneered. Fine by me. Since junior sister Yi puts it this way, I'll grant you 10 moves, Fu Lingtian said with a smile. Grant 10 moves? Senior brother Fu, this is a little unsuitable. What if he has a slip-up? The Qinglin sect disciples could not help but worry as, after all, 10 moves were too much. Senior brother Fu, 10 moves is still too little. Yi Qingtang shook her head once again. Then, Fu Lingtian frowned slightly and said, So what is your opinion, junior sister Yi? How do 20 moves sound? Yi Qingtang flashed a faint smile. 20 moves. Fu Lingtian was stunned. After Yi Qingtang spoke, there was an uproar below the ring. What a joke! How shameless is this Xianling sect disciple? Grant 20 moves? How about giving you all the first place instead? One cannot be too greedy. Senior brother Fu already granted 10 moves, but she was not content. Even the Xianling sect disciples were embarrassed beyond words because of what Yi Qingtang said. Facing the unfriendly stares of the other two sect's disciples, they wished they could find a hole in the ground to hide in. Who would have thought that Yi Qingtang was this shameless and could even say such a thing as to granting 20 moves? Ha! Elder Mo, this is a little overboard. A Qinglin sect elder looked at Elder Mo in dissatisfaction. Awkwardness spread on Elder Qin's face. If he knew Yi Qingtang would be like this, he would not have agreed to let her enter the ring just now. On the other hand, Elder Mo frowned tightly and did not say anything. Ha! Yi Qingtang is only joking with Fu Lingtian. There's no need to take it seriously. Elder Qin laughed. Joking? Everyone stared at each other. Judging from the expression of Xianling sect's Yi Qingtang, she did not seem to be joking. Since it is a joke, then I will grant junior sister Yi 10 moves as I said earlier. Fu Lingtian's expression turned a little better. It was not a joke, Yi Qingtang said simply. At that moment, all the disciples stared at Yi Qingtang once again, and the disciples from Qinglin sect and Wind Moon sect glared in disdain and disgust. We are already in last place. Ha! Yi Qingtang still did not think that was enough. Xianling sect's reputation is all thrown away because of her. Why was Yi Qingtang allowed to come to the venue of the 3-sect competition? The Xianling sect disciples felt terribly ashamed. Elder Qin had already provided an opportunity for her to extricate her from an awkward position by saying that she was joking, but who could expect Yi Qingtang was this shameless? Junior sister Yi, you're rather greedy. You want me to grant you 20 moves. How about I remain at a spot for you to attack me, and I don't strike back? Fu Lingtian scoffed. So you mean that it's not possible? Yi Qingtang asked. What do you think? Fu Lingtian looked at Yi Qingtang. At that, Yi Qingtang shook her head and let out a sigh. As the defending champion, you are, however, unwilling to grant me 20 moves. Since junior sister Yi says it so simply, how about you grant me 20 moves? Fu Lingtian snickered coldly. Grant you 20 moves? Yi Qingtang pondered and subsequently nodded. Since you said it, I will grant you 20 moves. What did you say? Fu Lingtian was startled and even thought he heard wrong. As you wish. Under everyone's gaze, Yi Qingtang placed her hands behind her and looked at Fu Lingtian with an indifferent expression. I'll grant you 20 moves. The Qinglin sect and Wind Moon sect elders had extremely bizarre expressions as they exchanged looks. Chapter 432, Grant a Move 3. The girl from Xianling sect. The Wind Moon sect elder smiled in dismay and shook his head. People from the Xianling sect, are you trying to make a joke by sending your reserve to fight against Fu Lingtian? The Qinglin sect elder laughed as he stared at Elder Mo. Elder Lin and Elder Mo remained silent. Elder Mo's face was getting increasingly unpleasant. Elder Qin sighed as he saw Elder Mo's face. Yi Qingtang was Elder Mo's in-name disciple. Yi Qingtang could enter the 3-sect competition because of Elder Mo's approval. However, now she was making a mess in the competition and was mocked by the other 2 sections. It was an embarrassment for Xianling sect, especially for Elder Mo. Haha, I have to say that Xianling sect's disciples are brave. One of the Qinglin sect's disciple laughed as he looked at people of Xianling sect. The Xianling sect disciples held their fists tightly and wanted to leave immediately. Yi Qing, if she really is a disgrace to our Xianling sect. She also dares to ask Fu Lingtian to grant her 20 moves? Is she trying to gain popularity with that? It's the first time that I ever feel so humiliated. At the same time, Fu Lingtian said, Okay, I'll grant you with 20 moves since you are from the Xianling sect. I think 20 moves are too much. Will 3 be enough? We shall see. Yi Qingtang smiled. Coldness swiped through Fu Lingtian's eyes. He was like a ghost and suddenly approached Yi Qingtang. Swoosh! Fu Lingtian smashed his palm. The strong martial breath rushed out of his palm and surrounded the place. All the 3 sect's disciples were astonished by the power of his smash. It was not a rumor that Fu Lingtian had no enemies in the same level. The force was like waves that increased gradually. The force of the smash arrived before the actual palm. Yi Qingtang's clothes and hair were swinging, but she did not have any movement under Fu Lingtian's attack. However, Yi Qingtang suddenly moved. Yi Qingtang dodged to the left slightly. Boom! An exploding sound spread out. Senior brother Fu, this is the first move. Yi Qingtang stared coldly at Fu Lingtian, who was frowning. How is that possible? She dodged the attack? Is that a coincidence? All the disciples could not believe that Yi Qingtang dodged Fu Lingtian's first attack. She dodged at the most appropriate time to the most appropriate angle. Such martial experience. It should be a coincidence, Elder Qin said. How much martial experience could Yi Qingtang have at her age? You are very lucky. Fu Lingtian did not stop his attack. He held his fist and smashed towards the left side of Yi Qingtang. Swoosh! Yi Qingtang's feet shifted slightly all of a sudden. Her toes pushed on the ground gently, and she floated backward using the slight force. Boom! Fu Lingtian's fist missed again after the exploding sound. Second move, Yi Qingtang said indifferently. You are committing suicide. Fu Lingtian was enraged. His legs swept out like a dragon. Yi Qingtang placed her hands at the back, and her body floated again. The shadows overlapped each other. One could not even differentiate the real figure from the shadows. Chapter 433. It's my turn. 1. One of the shadows was split apart by Fu Lingtian, but the Yi Qingtang reappeared in the next second. Her sight landed on Fu Lingtian, and she said, Senior brother Fu, 17 more moves left. However, I thought that you said you would defeat me within 3 moves? You, Fu Lingtian narrowed his eyes. The young lady from Xianling sect had strange moves and extraordinary speed. Oh, Elder Qin was shocked. If the first move was a coincidence, then the second and the third one. They could not be coincidences as well. Elder Mo frowned and finally raised his eyes to look at Yi Qingtang. As long as she did not fail miserably, Elder Mo would be satisfied. The 2 figures on the martial art hall shifted again. Fu Lingtian was like a demonic beast. Every move was fierce and strong, and if normal disciples were hit by the force, they would shed 1 layer of skin at least. However, Yi Qingtang's movement technique was abnormal. She avoided Fu Lingtian's attack at the most appropriate time. 5, 6, 10, 11, 19. Every time Yi Qingtang avoided Fu Lingtian's move, she would remind him. All the disciples were astonished. There is a disciple with such excellent movement techniques in the Xianling sect? Does Yi Qingtang study movement techniques? She is so fast. Who can touch her? No wonder she dared to challenge senior brother Fu and asked him to grant her 20 moves. Even though senior brother Fu is strong, it is useless if he can't touch Yi Qingtang. As a martial art cultivator, what can you do when you only know how to escape? Of course it's helpful. In the future, if you encounter any danger, at least you can run away. Xianling sect's disciples only know how to run? Xianling sect disciples remained silent, though the other sects mocked them. What was wrong with escaping? As a cultivator, what could you do if you could not even reach your opponent? At least Yi Qingtang could last so long on the stage and would not fail miserably. That would be enough for the Xianling sect. Good. Elder Qin looked at Yi Qingtang with admiration. He nodded and said, Hold on for a little while more. At least we will not fail so miserably, and we will be the sect that fought with Fu Lingtian for the longest time. Good movement techniques indeed. It was rare that Elder Mo also commended. After 19 moves, Fu Lingtian looked at Yi Qingtang and smiled coldly. Junior sister Yi, do you only know how to run away only? As a sect disciple, I think there's nothing to be proud of when you only know how to escape. Senior brother Fu is right. The ability of Xianling sect disciples is the worst among the 3 sects, but your escaping ability is definitely the first. Haha, you'll see how she's going to run when she runs out of inner chi later. Qinglin's sect disciples laughed. Don't say that. I think most of the Xianling sect disciples are brave men. Disciples who only know how to escape are the minority. It's normal for a girl to study escaping techniques. Anyway, the difference in the quality of the Xianling sect disciples is huge. Some of the Wind Moon sect disciples mocked. Many Xianling sect disciples' faces were red. They felt embarrassed when they met with the sarcastic sights from the other 2 sects' disciples. Fu Lingtan tilted his mouth and said, "Junior Sister Yi, how about taking one of my moves instead of running? It won't be so unpleasant if you lose." Chapter 434. It's my turn, too. The moment Fu Lingtian finished his words, he raised his fist towards the sky. His breath and energy reached their peaks at that instant. The power of the fist was so strong that the whole ring was shaking. It seemed to be the end of the world. The entire audience kept quiet under the ring. The drama would end soon. No matter how strong Yi Qingtang was, she would not be able to avoid a full-force attack. Elder Qin was concerned. Yi Qingtang might not be able to remain safe and sound under Fu Lingshan's fist. However, Yi Qingtang suddenly moved. She did not back off this time. Instead, she raised her arm towards the incoming attack. Boom! The sound exploded, and the invisible air waves spread out from them. This is impossible. Fu Lingtian was totally shocked as he saw Yi Qingtang, who was standing close to him, silence. It was deadly silent. Everyone froze at the moment. A streak of light sparkled through Elder Mo's eyes. He stood up from his seat and stared at his in-name disciple on the ring. Under everyone's gaze, Yi Qingtang casually blocked the attack with her palm. She held Fu Lingshan's full-force attack easily. Fu Lingshan's fist was held by Yi Qingtang. Just now, Fu Lingtian asked her to take her move. And now, Yi Qingtang did what he asked. She did not dodge. 20. Yi Qingtang remained still, but her voice was cold. The whole place was quiet as everyone was stunned as they stared at Yi Qingtang. The Qinglin sect elders were shocked, and they could not believe what they just saw. Before the 20th move, everyone thought that Yi Qingtang studied movement techniques to avoid direct contact with Fu Lingtian. However, she took the 20th move with her palm and blocked Fu Lingtian. Astonished, Elder Qin was dazed for a moment. Next to him, excitement could be seen in Elder Mo's eyes, and he instantly stood up. The young lady from the Xianling sect. The Wind Moon sect elders frowned heavily. Yi Qingtang stood straight on the ring. She placed one of her hands at the back and the other holding Fu Lingshan's fist. "This is the 20th move," Yi Qingtang said expressionlessly. "This is not possible." Cold sweat appeared on Fu Lingshan's forehead. His right fist was held tightly by Yi Qingtang. Her hand was like a mountain from the 9th heaven. No matter how she struggled, he could not withdraw his hand. "Fu Lingtan, I did what I promised just now. I did not fight back and granted you 20 moves. However, you did not grab the chances. The 20 moves are so weak. Such a disappointment." Yi Qingtang sighed softly. The audiences broke into discussions upon hearing her words. Yi Qingtang mocked Fu Lingtian by saying he was too weak for her. What did you say?" Fu Lingshan's face clouded. The young lady in front of him was just at the 3rd heaven of martial chi level 1. How dare she to talk to him like that? Yi Qingtang kept her smile away. Her eyes were cold. "Now it's my turn." The hand that was holding Fu Lingshan's fist suddenly tightened as she finished her words. She directed her inner chi within her body instantly. The force rushed out of her body like a beast out of control. "Argh!" A screech and the broken sound of bones were heard at the same time. At that moment, everyone who was present was stunned. Chapter 435. It's my turn, 3. The Qinglin sect elders' faces clouded. The progress of the competition now was way beyond their expectations. The Wind Moon sect elder could not believe that a reserved disciple of Xianling sect could possess such ability. She must be the hidden force of Xianling sect. Another Wind Moon sect elder appeared to be contemplating. Elder Qin stared at Yi Qingtang with his mouth trembling slightly, but he did not say anything. Elder Mo was completely shocked. He had never known that his in-name disciple's martial skills had reached such a level. The competition between Yi Qingtang and Fu Lingtian had not ended yet. Yi Qingtang's movement techniques were unique, and she was very fierce with her attacks. Fu Lingtian could not even defend himself. You! Fu Lingtian gritted his teeth, and cold sweat appeared on his head. His right hand was fractured by Yi Qingtang. Unless he revealed his true ability, he would not be able to fight anymore. However, Yi Qingtang's every move was fatal. Clearly, she did not want to let him go easily. I give. Fu Lingtian did not dare to use his full strength and decided to give up. However, before he could finish his words, he was stopped by Yi Qingtang's attack. She wants to kill me? Fu Lingtian was shocked. He was busy defending himself against Yi Qingtang's killing moves. There was no chance for him to give up. The woman in front of him did not even give him any time to give up. Qinglin's sect obviously noticed Fu Lingtian's situation. Such a vicious lady. How dare you to intend to kill the talent of my sect? One of the Qinglin sect elders shouted, and a strong martial breath spread all over the place. The elder was about to jump over to the ring the next second. Humph! Elder Mo's eyes were cold as he saw the Qinglin sect elder was about to interfere. He grunted loudly and slapped the table heavily. A shadow split out of his body. Boom! A loud sound was heard when the table broke. Elder Emu, the Qinglin sect elder frowned. Elder Qian, the competition has not ended yet. How dare you to have the intention to kill my disciple? Elder Mo's martial breath was so intense that he appeared to be so majestic in front of everyone. He stared fiercely at Elder Qian. When did I want to kill your disciple? I just wanted to end the competition. Apparently, your disciple wants to murder Fu Lingtian. Elder Qin of the Qinglin sect sneered. Such a joke. Elder Mo was expressionless, but his tone was very mighty. If Qingtang really does kill Fu Lingtian, I will definitely punish her heavily. However, before the competition ends, I will kill anyone who dares to interfere. You! Elder Qian of the Qinglin sect stared at Elder Mo in rage. He knew that he was not a qualified opponent of Elder Mo. If he interfered forcefully, it would be detrimental to both sections. Well. Elder Qian repeated himself 3 times. If Fu Lingtian is really killed by your sect's disciple, they'll see what you are going to say. Elder Qian then returned to the area for Qinglin sect. Humph! Elder Mo grunted again and returned. Disciples of the Xianling sect were surprised. Elder Mo defended Yi Qingtang and was even willing to provoke Qinglin sect elder. However, Elder Mo did not seem to take his in-name disciple to heart previously. But now, boom! A hitting sound stopped everyone's thoughts. Fu Lingtian was kicked by Yi Qingtang at his abdomen area, and his body flew 10 meters away. He was close to falling off the ring. Chapter 436, You Are Cheating, 1, Come Back. Yi Qingtang sprung up and held Fu Lingtian's collar. She dragged him back to the ring directly. Blood flew out of Fu Lingtian's mouth. Yi Qingtang really intended to kill him on the ring. Yi Qingtang's lips curled into an evil smile. She murmured beside Fu Lingtian's ear. I want you dead. Fu Lingtian was astonished. He could never imagine that Yi Qingtang would be so cruel to kill him. He did not know the reason why Yi Qingtang wanted to do so, and he did not have enough time to figure out as Yi Qingtang's move was about to land on him the next second. Fu Lingtian was almost engulfed by the strong feeling of danger. If he continued to suppress his ability at the 3rd heaven of martial chi level 1, he would not be able to fight with the disciple in front of him. Unless he revealed his true power without holding back. However, if he used his full strength, the Yunshao sect might punish him heavily. If he chose not to, he might die here soon. The moment Yi Qingtang's move was about to lock him down, Fu Lingtian's eyes sparkled, and there was no trace of fear left. His martial chi aura immediately reached the 2nd heaven of the martial chi level 2. You are seeking your own death. Fu Lingshan's face darkened as he shouted. As he finished his words, his martial qi aura changed into unlimited primordial qi, and the power caused Yi Qingtang to be thrown out. Boom! Yi Qingtang struggled for about 10 steps back until she stabilized herself. I'm going to kill you. Fu Lingtian was enraged. As a Yunshao sect disciple who reached the second heaven of the martial qi level 2, his hand was fractured by a Xianling sect disciple, and he nearly lost his life. Fu Lingtian smashed his palm down at Yi Qingtang. His martial qi was so intense that nothing could compare with it. Master, save me. Yi Qingtang shouted for help at Elder Mo. However, before Yi Qingtang shouted, Elder Mo was prepared to take action against Fu Lingtian when he revealed his martial qi level 2 power. How dare you! Elder Mo shouted fiercely. His voice sounded like the thunder and seemed to be able to cause the entire world to tremble. Before the audience could realize what was going on, Elder Mo flew onto the ring and protected Yi Qingtang. At the same time, Elder Mo waved his palm. Boom. Boom boom. When the palm of Elder Mo reached Fu Lingshan's palm, it seemed like two meteors hit each other. As Fu Lingshan's right hand was fractured by Yi Qingtang, his strength was not enough to counter Elder Mo's attack. He backed off for a few steps. Master, he is at the second heaven of martial qi level 2. He wanted to kill me. Yi Qingtang's face was full of fear. Elder Mo's face was extremely unpleasant. Don't be afraid, Qingtang, I will defend you now. Elder Mo's cold eyes then scanned through the elders of the Qinglin sect. The elders of the Qinglin sect were totally shocked. The aura that Fu Lingtian just revealed was definitely at the level of the second heaven of martial qi level 2. What's going on? Fu Lingtian is at the second heaven of martial qi level 2? How can it be? The rules of the 3-sect competition say that only disciples at martial qi level 1 can participate. Martial qi level 1. One of the disciples sneered. It was clear that he reached the second heaven of martial qi level 2 just now. If Elder Mo did not help, Junior Sister Yi would die because of Fu Lingtian. Is it possible that the Qinglin sect asked Fu Lingtian to suppress his second heaven of martial qi level 2 cultivation to the third heaven of martial qi level 1? Chapter 437. You are cheating too. That's the reason why every time Qinglin sect was the first in the 3-sect competition. Who could beat Fu Lingtian when he has reached martial qi level 2? Qinglin sect is so shameless. Oh my god. Is Yi Qingtang a monster? She broke Fu Lingshan's hand and even forced him to reveal his true power. Besides criticizing Qinglin sect, more people were amazed at Yi Qingtang's terrifying fighting ability. Ha! Spirit root? So what if your spirit root is not superior? Yi Qingtang's spirit root is not good. But even Fu Lingtian with martial qi level 2 ability almost died in her hands. Spirit root does not represent one's fighting ability. That's right. I think even some of the core disciples in the inner sect of Xianling sect also cannot compare with Junior Sister Yi. Spirit root does not represent everything. As long as you are strong enough, the quality of the spirit root does not matter anymore. Some of the Xianling sect disciples' eyes were full of excitement as they possessed ordinary spirit roots. Yi Qingtang gave them the hope to be stronger. Qinglin sect, how are you going to explain? Elder Mo stood in front of Yi Qingtang and looked at the Qinglin sect elders. How could the Qinglin sect elders know what was going on? In their impressions, Fu Lingtian was always at the third heaven of martial qi level 1. Maybe your disciple is too strong. Then she forced out Fu Lingshan's talent and caused him to break through. One of the Qinglin sect elders tried to explain. Elder Mo glanced at that elder coldly. You were saying that Fu Lingshan's martial qi level 1 cultivation suddenly broke through to the second heaven of martial qi level 2? This is not entirely impossible. The Qinglin sect elder nodded. Not entirely impossible? Elder Qin went forward and sneered. In my whole life, I have never heard of any talented person who can break through 2 levels in a second. Hee. The Wind Moon sect elder stood up and smiled at the elders who were quarreling. We should not sacrifice our harmony for that. Anyway, The competition was meant to enhance our relationship. Elder, Yi Qingtang smiled. Qinglin's sect won quite a lot of stakes by cheating these years. If they need to return all the stakes, Yi Qingtang did not elaborate further as she knew that the Wind Moon sect elder could understand her words. The Wind Moon sect elders' faces immediately changed. They realized that the stakes they lost were not negligible upon Yi Qingtang's reminder. Apparently, the Wind Moon sect elders' faces also clouded. Humph! So shameless of you, Qinglin sect. How dare you to ask your Martial Qi Level 2 disciple to suppress his ability at Martial Qi Level 1? That's right. Qinglin sect won the top prize for a few years based on cheating. Now you must return all the stakes. Besides returning, there must be compensation. The Wind Moon sect elders' attitudes suddenly changed as they condemned the Qinglin sect elders. As I said, Fu Lingtian broke through. The Qinglin sect elders did not wish to compromise. Such a joke. As Elder Qin said, I have never seen anyone who can break through 2 levels instantly. So you do not admit the despicable things you have done? Another elder of the Wind Moon sect gazed at the Qinglin sect in rage. The Wind Moon sect intended to be the peacemaker, but their attitudes changed after Yi Qingtang's unintentional reminder. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.